overcast much of the day here in Boston, and truthfully, it kind of matches the mood at Fenway Park as they try to keep their season alive here in the ALDS on FS1, presented by Doosan. Game 3 between the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox, as the Astros have dominated the first two, winning both games by an 8-2 score. Now on the verge of their first postseason series win since the pennant run in 2005. Now with that, we say welcome inside with David Cohn and AJ Pierzynski. Joe Davis, JP Morosi will join us in just a moment. And Coney, I know that Chris Sale was disappointing, Drew Pomeranz as well, but the offense for Boston, somebody's got to step up or their season's coming to an end.
Well, I think we just heard from Big Papi in the studio what the recipe is. I mean, even though the Red Sox were last in the league in home runs, somebody's going to have to bang one off the wall today to set an example. And, you know, maybe it's going to be Hanley Ramirez, maybe it's Mookie Betts, but somebody's got to step up, because up until this point, there has really been no spark from that Red Sox offense.
Yeah, just the 4 runs over the first 2 games. And on the other side, AJ, a completely different story. All season, this has been one of the best offenses in baseball, or the best offense, and no different through 2 games.
Everything's been the same for the Houston Astros. Coney's talking about the Red Sox need to bang. Well, the Houston Astros have been nothing but bang this entire series. Banging balls over the fence, getting hits, getting guys on base, putting pressure on the Red Sox. In the middle of the order, Jose Altuve and Carlos Correa have been young stars that haven't disappointed. Matter of fact, Jose Altuve, the probable AL MVP, has scored 5 runs in this series. The Red Sox team has scored 4. Every guy in the Astros lineup has done it. 2+ hits for each position. The Astros are on fire, and Doug Fister has to shut them down.
Yeah, to be up to the 33-year-old who has struggled over the last month, but in his career in the postseason, one of the best. 4-1 with a 178 earned run average and 8 starts in October. Our friends at T-Mobile are contributing $10,000 for every home run that is hit, up to $1 million, and for every tweet to hashtag HR4HR during the postseason to support Team Rubicon towards hurricane recovery. We've got Game 3 of the American League Division Series. The Astros and the Red Sox from Fenway Park. First pitch coming up.
Bregman tries this one deep to left field, and you can't kiss that one goodbye. Jose deep to left center field. See you later!
Fastball is hammered.
Just a bullet left field.
Just like in Game 1, they ride the long ball to a first inning lead. Doug Fister, with the Red Sox season down to its final day, perhaps. Down 2 games to none in this American League Division Series. He's trying to keep it extended at least one more day to a Game 4 tomorrow at Fenway Park. And this is the lineup that he'll face off against that's been so good all season, and especially the first 2 days of this series. George Springer bats leadoff. Then it's Josh Reddick sliding into the 2 spot. Altuve with a 3-home run game in Game 1. The shortstop Correa bats cleanup, followed by Marwin Gonzalez sliding up in A.J. Hinch's order here for Game 3. Alex Bregman took Fister deep a week ago. Carlos Beltran, the veteran DHs, and Gurriel and McCann round out the lineup. Well, Fister was unsigned until late May this year. Signed a minor league contract with the Angels towards the end of that month. Didn't get a chance in the majors with them. And so the Red Sox claimed him off waivers on June 23rd. And at that point, Coney, it was really just, let's get some depth in this rotation. But here we are now. Game 3 with their season on the line, and they hand him the ball.
Well, they do, and if it's a bit surprising, I'm sure some Red Sox fans would think, why Fister, why Game 3? But he's got his arm speed back, and in talking to John Farrell before the game, the movement on his fastball's back. Also staying down in the zone, been very consistent with that sinker down again. They feel like they got him right, and obviously starting off the game, it's been a theme throughout the whole postseason. Get a goose egg in the first inning.
That's our Geico pitcher profile. Now the Astros with the 2 runs in each of the first 2 games. And the first inning, and now on the verge of their first postseason series win since that 05 pennant run. Red Sox trying to avoid getting swept in the division series for a 2nd consecutive year. George Springer stands in, and off we go with ball one. Springer hit one of those 6 home runs the Astros have clubbed over the first 2 games. He did that in game 2. A couple of 8-2 wins for Houston. That's a jam shot into short right and a leadoff single for Springer. For coverage of this game in Spanish, tune into Fox Deportes. So is Springer aboard. Up comes Josh Reddick. Slides up in the order today and hit down in the bottom part of the order for the first 2 games with left-handed starters. Off of the glove of Leon, and Springer into scoring position.
And not exactly the start that the Red Sox were looking for. A leadoff bloop single. And then a ball that gets by the catcher. Just more of the same for the Astros, the first hitter.
You guys talk about how important it is for the Red Sox to get off to a good start to get this crowd into the game. Well, Doug Fister has the worst earned run average in baseball over the first 2 innings. He's trying to buck a trend to give them a shot today. You just really worry if you're a Red Sox fan if you see them fall behind early again.
And once again, the Astros have extremely aggressive approach in the first couple of pitches of every at bat. They seem to see something they like and let it go.
Runner at second, nobody out. That ball's inside. It's 2-1.
When you're feeling good about yourselves, it's easy to be a free swinging team. It's easy to sort of let it go and be really aggressive.
Line drive, base hit into center. George Springer headed home. Bradley's throw is not in time, and the Astros waste no time. Before Fister gets it out, Houston gets a run. It's 1-0.
Just good hitting by Reddick. Fastball kind of up out over the plate, takes it to center field. Jackie Bradley does everything right except hit the cutoff man, which allows Reddick to go to second. But 1-0 Astros has been a theme throughout this series in the first inning, and here we go again.
Those are some pretty consistent faces across the ballpark today. I mean, you think postseason baseball at Fenway Park, you think of an incredible vibe. There was actually a tweet from the Boston Red Sox official account a few hours before game that there are still tickets available for games 3 and 4.
And a fatalistic attitude is easy to feel in this ballpark right now. Here we go again.
Now they've got to deal with Altuve. Goes after the first pitch and sprays it foul. Perhaps the MVP of the American League, likely him or Aaron Judge of the Yankees. On base 7 of the 9 times he's been up there so far. That included that 3 home run game in game 1. Oh, 1. Nothing at 2. It's been quite the equation for the Astros in this series, getting ahead first. And trying to keep this trend rolling over the last few years. Scoring first so important. A.J. Hinch knew that. He knew how important it was for his team to get his own home crowd going in games 1 and 2. They accomplished that. Trying to take this Fenway crowd out of it early. Fister's 0-2. Smack the second. That'll advance Reddick to third. Altuve the first out.
Joe, they've accomplished that. You said take the Fenway crowd out. As you mentioned, coming in, dark and dreary the weather. The crowd kind of felt the same way. They go up, score 1-0, have another guy on third with less than 2 outs. The Red Sox have to bring their infield in. You can already feel it in the crowd and in the stadium that, hey, this could be the end of the Red Sox season.
And it's almost like they took the crowd out before the game even started in what they did in Houston.
People you talk to around Boston, the writers and the people that you see walking on the streets, usually having played here, and Coney, you played here a lot, they're excited for Red Sox. Today, there wasn't that feeling. There wasn't that, oh, we're going to get them no matter what feeling. It's more like, okay, we need the season to end as quick as possible.
You know, one of the problems is when they do fall behind, we noted that they are last in the American League in home runs, so it's hard for them to play catch up.
Carlos Correa, fantastic young shortstop, 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, part of the issues as far as the mood of the fan base and around the city is that they've seen this before. Just last year, it was like the Red Sox postseason run was over before it even got started, getting swept by Cleveland. Infield pulled in with a man at 3rd and 1 out. Here's a 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, a lot has been said about Houston turning it around this year in terms of their contact rate. They have power, but they don't strike out a lot. You could see it starts right at the top, a very aggressive approach on the first couple of pitches of almost each at bat.
Coney Doug Fister, who doesn't have great strikeout stuff, sure could use one here.
Usually goes to his curveball when he needs strikeouts against right-handed batters.
Here he comes with a 1-2, and he buzzes a fastball outside, even the count.
Doug Fister was throwing in the mid to upper 80s when the Red Sox picked him up off the scrap heap, and they made some adjustments, and that's one of the reasons they wanted him to start today. His velocity is up 93 on the last pitch.
It's in on Correa, who drags it foul. This is starting to look a lot like his at bat in the first inning of Game 2, where on the 8th pitch that he saw, he pummeled a 2-run home run. I don't know about you guys, but I never even saw it land.
That's because it was up in that choo-choo train they have at Minute Maid. It was in the orange pile they have in the choo-choo train.
Count goes full.
Coney, you mentioned his change in mechanics. He went back to throwing across his body, stepping more towards the 3rd baseline, and John Farrell said that allowed him to get back to his natural arm swing and his arm speed. So Carl Willis and John Farrell noticed something in video or whatever it was and got him back to his natural arm action.
Correa waits back on an off-speed pitch and sends it in the air to deep center. Bradley's back, and that ball's gone. A skyscraping home run from Carlos Correa, and the Astros lead it 3-0 in the first inning. Did it on the 8th pitch of the at-bat in Game 2 in the first inning. Does it on the 7th pitch here.
How eerily similar the at-bats were. They couldn't put him away. They got ahead on Carlos Correa, Doug Fister. It was Drew Pomerantz in Game 2. They just couldn't put him away. They get to 3-2. Threw him an off-speed pitch, curveball, and just belted it to center field. It never came down. Oh, to be that young and strong again, Coney.
Wow. I mean, the flexibility Correa showed us on that home run that you referenced before, Joe, and almost similar. The hip speed. I mean, that's not a cheapie. When you go dead center here at Fenway, that's not a wall ball or a wall scraper. That's dead central on a hanging curveball.
Seven first-inning runs, guys, over the first 3 games for Houston.
Excuse me, Joe. Yeah, Fister's been up with everything. Contrary to what we said he had to do, was stay down.
This is with the first one to Marwin Gonzalez.
Thing is, even when he's made his pitches, you saw it, leadoff hitter Springer jams him, throws it out there for a hit. Altuve makes an out, but it's a productive out.
Joe Kelly already loosening in the Boston bullpen. David Price was good in Game 2, but threw 38 pitches and probably not available for that long of a run here 2 days later. Now, the thought coming in was that John Farrell would love to get 3 full innings between Price and Kimbrel combined, but for that to matter, it's now going to take more of an effort from their offense than they've had over the first 2 games. Fister falls behind Gonzalez 3-0.
Yeah, now you're in the danger zone, and you know, if you're You're in that Boston dugout. You got to think about making a move with one more base runner almost at this point. That's why Kelly's up. He can get ready quicker.
Off the end of the bat, diving play by Bogaerts at short, and he gets it. Xander Bogaerts with a nice play for out number 2.
Kind of got in on him, Marwin Gonzalez, a little bit, but nice play by Bogaerts. Going to his left up the middle, sliding, gets up quickly, and actually made it look pretty routine. When that ball was hit, I thought that was an easy base hit, but Bogaerts with a tremendous play to get him.
Yeah, the recovery after the dive, impressive.
That's a strike on Alex Bregman. Now, the Astros just saw Doug Fister a little more than a week ago here at Fenway Park in his final start of the regular season. Gave up 3 runs over 5 1/3. All 3 were driven in by this guy, Bregman, who homered and doubled against him. But that can't be easy to face the same lineup again, especially one that's this good that quickly.
It was always very challenging, Joe, for me. Back-to-back starts against the same team, especially one as explosive as the Astros. And remember, the Astros know Fister. He started 32 games for them last year, playing for Houston.
That was the worst year of Fister's career. Signed a 1-year, $7 million contract with them. And an emphasis for Fister a year ago was largely on pitching up in the zone. He kind of got away from his strengths. Home with a 2-2, and he's outside. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, Coney, you can speak to this better than I can as a pitcher, but if your strength is the sinker ball, why in the world, with your velocity down, would you try and go up in the zone instead of sticking with what's worked your entire career?
Yeah, that's a tough adjustment to make.
Bottom of the zone for strike 3, and the first inning comes to a close. But more the same for this amazing Houston Astros offense. Carlos Correa on the 7th pitch that he sees from Doug Fister goes to dead central. 3-0 before Boston grabs a bat. Red Sox having to climb out of an early hole, and here's John Farrell's offense that'll try and accomplish it with Bogaerts to lead it off, then Pedroia, Benintendi. Mets in the middle with Moreland and Ramirez, Devers the 20-year-old, Leon and Bradley. Against Brad Peacock, who's making his first career postseason appearance. 29-year-old from Florida buzzes a fastball in for a strike on Bogaerts, and it's 0-1. The struggles for Boston have started right here. Bogaerts at the top of the order, who had been so hot in September, hitless in 9 at-bats through 2 games. A cue shot the second. That's Altuve for the first out. Well, Brad Peacock 13-2 this season, and this for a guy, AJ, who over his first 5 years in the majors was 11-17, really struggling to gain any traction. Really struggling to stay healthy, but as he has gotten a consistent spot and had good health, what a year.
Unbelievable year for Brad Peacock. Kind of out of nowhere. He was barely going to make the team in spring training, just fighting to make the team. But as you said, Joe, he's 100% healthy. He figured out a new slider that he didn't have, which has really helped him, especially against right-handed hitters. And he pitches out of the stretch full time, which is not that odd anymore, but he does it because he was comfortable doing it as a reliever. And you know what? It worked. 13 wins this year, so stick with it.
He's home with an 0-1 to Dustin Pedroia, and that is a little bit low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, you mentioned him making the opening day roster. That was out of the bullpen because of injuries to more established guys, and Peacock told us yesterday he was just really excited to have a chance to be even on the 25-man roster, let alone pitch his way into a spot where he's in position to put the Astros into the championship series.
He's dealt with some DL issues, had a hip issue, back issues. So came into this spring training looking just to make the team.
2-1.
You know, we talked to manager AJ Hinch before the game, and he's such a low-key guy. His rep is, you know, kind of the glad squad. AJ, I'm just happy to be here. And AJ wants him to get a little more fire and say, hey, no, I'm a starter now. You know, if he takes him out in the 5th inning, he wants him to show a little emotion. It's okay. He wants him to fight for his spot.
And how many times do you hear a manager say that? Hey, I want you to show me that you're mad.
Pedroia stays alive. Yeah, I mean, he said that's just kind of Peacock's personality. Very agreeable, likable guy. And when A.J. Hinch said to him, you know, what do you think? We got some pieces coming back from the DL, rotation pieces. Hey, whatever you need, Skip. No, he didn't want that to be the attitude. He wanted a little more fire from his guy.
Heck, if I had the year he was having, I would have fought too to stay in that rotation. If you're 13-2, you want to fight. Fight, keep me there. I'll prove you wrong.
Another 2-2 and another foul ball.
You know, we also had Jeff Luhnow, the general manager, in the meeting today with AJ and Joe. And the amazing part to me is that their reputation is so progressive and geared towards analytics. And all AJ Hinch wanted to talk about was the human element, about personalities, about how guys are fired up and pull for each other, and that the point we made about Peacock, you know, and showing more emotion.
Rides back in on Pedroia, but he serves it into center for a base hit. Works the at-bat, singles into center, and Boston has its first base runner of the afternoon. This is a diminished Dustin Pedroia right now. He's been dealing with that knee injury all season. And John Farrell has said that, look, he's good enough to go at this point. Still has never missed a postseason game in his long Red Sox career. With one out, here's Benintendi.
Yeah, Pedroia, total gamer. Almost like the Black Knight from the Monty Python series, you know? It's only a flesh wound.
Benintendi hits a fly ball to right field for Josh Reddick. And on the first pitch, he's out number 2. Well, after that 3-run top of the first for Houston, let's take a look at the 4 keys to the game, AJ.
Well, the keys to the game for the Astros, Brad Peacock, do what you've done all year. Show your feathers. Get ahead of the hitters, use that wipeout slider. And for the Red Sox, I originally had gone with, hey, throw a 0 up there, but now it's changed because now they need to answer back. You go down 3-0 in a must-win game or you're going home, they need to find a way to score and score early to get the crowd and their team energized.
Runner at first with 2 out. Mookie Betts climbs in. Peacock comes home and Betts takes a strike. Now Betts recaptured some of his MVP caliber performance late this season. Runner-up last year to Mike Trout. Didn't reach those numbers consistently really until late this year. It took off in September. On the corner, strike 2.
And it's amazing to me how much baseball's changed. He hit 260, 24, and 100, and everyone's like, man, Mookie Betts had a terrible year. Heck, I would have taken that, Coney, and ran to the bank with those numbers.
Yeah, he set the bar so high. MVP caliber talent. Dealt with injuries all year.
Yeah, part of it's his own fault that it was looked at as a down year with what he did last year. You mentioned the injuries. Tweaked his left wrist on a swing in Houston in Game 2. And admitted that he's probably not going to be 100%, however long this postseason goes for Boston. Like Dustin Pedroia, though, good enough to be in there. One ball and 2 strikes.
And to that point, coming up through the minor leagues, people used to say, oh, what kind of player are you? Oh, I'm this or I'm that. But if you hit 20 home runs your first year and you're second in MVP, guess what? People expect that from you every year. That's hard to do every single year. So if you set the bar too high as a player, they expect it, and he's good enough to back it up.
Lays off, evens the count up. Two, full count. Mitch Moreland waits on deck here in a 3-0 game in the first inning. Game 3 of the American League Division Series with the Astros up 2-0. Pedroia runs with a payoff and Betts taps it foul.
So important for the Red Sox to answer back. That tough top of the first inning. Crooked number on the board. Just the last thing you wanted to see. Down 3-0, but have a shot here. 3-2 with Pedroia on first.
Here comes another payoff pitch, and that's down swinging. Peacock throws a fastball by him and works a scoreless first inning. Carlos Beltran to lead off the Astros half of the second inning against Doug Fister, who starts him with ball one. 40 years old in his 20th major league season. Right now is part of a platoon at DH for the Astros, starting against right-handed pitching. Not been a great year for him in his first full season in Houston, but has been a huge part of the clubhouse as the Astros went out and brought in a few veteran pieces to add to this young core this offseason. On a 2-0, he takes a strike.
Beltran has, for the last couple of years, been better batting left-handed than right. He struggled last year as well, batting right-handed. I thought A.J. Hinch was very candid about Beltran. He just said, you know what, it's hard being 40. You know, and that says a lot right there. It's Beltran's 20th year now, and that's what he wanted.
That's a strike, and the count goes full. Beltran, one of the best postseason hitters of this generation, really. Especially that 2004 postseason when he was with Houston for the first time. Hit 8 home runs. He's got a leadoff walk here in the second. That's Beltran, it's McCann, it's Reddick, veteran pieces they brought over. And 1 year after what was a disappointing season for the Astros, they returned to the postseason after the 9-year drought in 2015. Took a step back last year and then went out and brought these guys in.
They did that, but not only did they do that, if you notice a theme with these three, they're all left-handed. And A.J. Hinch said,
that's a base hit into center from Yuli Gurriel. He interrupted you rudely, but A.J. Hinch said,
well, if you hit a ball like that, you can interrupt me anytime. A first pitch curveball, who's looking for that? Obviously, Yuli Gurriel is, because he lined a rocket up to center field. So A.J. Hinch wanted the lefties to add stability to their lineup with Correa and Altuve. But not only they get that, they got veterans, as we watch Gurriel just hit an absolute laser on a hanging breaking ball. And Doug Fister's not going to be long for this game. John Farrell, they're going to have to get him out if he continues, obviously, to fall behind and get hit like this.
I'm surprised that he's going to be allowed to face Brian McCann right here. First and second, nobody out. In my opinion, this move has to be made now.
And John Farrell has been criticized before for waiting a little bit too long to take his starters out. Chris Sale in game one took a lot of heat for not getting him out before that final outburst from Houston. Problem is, it's the second inning. A long way for this bullpen to cover to keep it close.
The other problem is it's do or die, so they need to do something now. They can't wait around. There is no tomorrow.
Fister to McCann with an 0-1, and that tails outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. The offense has been an issue. The starting pitching, really, when you go back to last season, a consistent problem for the Red Sox. Getting swept by the Indians last year. Included starts from David Price and Rick Porcello. Now McCann drives the ball to center field where Jackie Bradley's waiting for the first out. And this for a team coming into the season where they thought the rotation was going to be a huge strength. They thought they were going to be able to line up Chris Sale, then David Price, and the reigning Cy Young Award winner Rick Porcello. They've turned to Doug Fister here with their season on the line, and it doesn't appear that his day will go any longer. With one out in the second, John Farrell reaches desperation, pulling Doug Fister from the game and going into the bullpen. The ALDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball. It's sponsored by the 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar. And by Jameson Caskmates. Jameson whiskey finished in craft stout barrels. Only 1 1/3 for Doug Fister. And Joe Kelly, who pitched an inning in game 1 of this series and gave up a run, comes in with 2 on and 1 out, delivering ball 1 to George Springer. Leadoff walk for Beltran. Gurriel then singled. And after the flyout from McCann, Springer works ahead 2-0. And that one gets by Leone, allowing the runners to advance. Beltran just barely in there in time at third, and the boos start to rain down from this Fenway crowd.
Well, to be honest with you, Beltran wasn't going to go, but Sandy Leone didn't go after the ball. Or if he did, he didn't go very hard after it, so Beltran figured, why the heck not? But just a slider that he didn't give a great effort for, and then if you notice, he just kind of lackadaisically goes after it. So the boos are for a lot of things, but one is shouldn't be for effort.
Sandy Leone in the lineup today because he was more comfortable with Fister, or vice versa.
On the ground is short. The runners hold. That is a big second out for Joe Kelly. Yeah, and you wonder if they will go to Christian Vasquez sooner than you normally may. Just with as hot as Vasquez has been swinging the bat the last couple of months, and you combine that with that lack of effort on the last play.
Yeah, it's double trouble. You know, Farrell went with the pitcher catcher, sent a personal catcher matchup, and that matchup is now done. 1 1/3 innings into the game.
Problem obviously would be leaving yourself exposed without a true third catcher on the roster.
Brock Holt could catch, I think.
I think he probably could.
He plays everywhere else, so I'm sure he'd love to get back there. But it surprised me today a little bit when I came in and saw Leone in the lineup, just because Vasquez has played good for him. He's been one of their hottest hitters down the stretch. I get pitcher, personal catchers, and John Farrell's huge at that. When I played for the Red Sox, he was all into it, and I get it. But still, you need offense.
Josh Reddick, second and third and 2 out. Yeah, and especially when Boston has been struggling the way they have offensively.
If you go back to the 90s, Greg Maddux had Eddie Perez or Charlie O'Brien, whoever it was, his personal catcher, but the Braves would switch. In the postseason, Javi Lopez would come in because, you know what, the Braves sometimes in the postseason against your teams, Coney, needed offense. So I get it to a point, but there also is a counterpoint.
Joe Kelly trying to get out of this second inning jam. Reddick rolls one foul, and it's 1-1. Well, them getting into the bullpen this early, you start to think about everything you may have to go to in the all hands on deck approach. You know, David Price at some point. Could Chris Sale come into the equation again? John Farrell talked about that being a possibility, but likely would be a desperation move. Well, yeah,
you're going to need some innings, so that brings some starters into play, whether that be Porcello or one of your other left-handers that are down there to get you some innings.
Two and one, and yeah, Porcello in a perfect world would be the Game 4 starter, but Game 4 doesn't happen if you don't win today.
Well, we've said it many times, all hands on deck, and in a perfect world, this and that. But guess what? They're down 3-0 in a must-win game, so there's a good chance you might see everybody out there.
So Eduardo Rodriguez also down there, available.
2-2 on Reddick.
This is the right move here, though. You know, even though I thought it was a hit or two late, but Joe Kelly gives you your best chance to get out of this jam with high 90s, at times over 100-mile-an-hour type fastballs. So he's got the stuff to get you out of this. Now 2-2 with 2 outs. He's going to talk with Leone and try to get on the same page with what pitch they want to go with here to try to finish this at bat.
Beltran at third. Gurriel at second. Kelly's 2-2.
You know, Kelly, along with a lot of other failed starters, has found success in the bullpen, simplifying his approach, pitching from the stretch, going as hard as he can, as long as he can.
Another 2-2. That is why it's not worth saying first base is open, because of the guy on deck.
I'm pretty sure that the Red Sox know first base is open right here, but they don't want to face that.
Exactly.
Like you said, they don't want to face that guy on deck. They know what he's done and what he's done for the last few years.
Kelly to Reddick with a 3-2.
Because of that threat, that's why you see Joe Kelly challenging. A lot of times this would be a slider or a curveball or a changeup, something off speed. I wouldn't be surprised to see him throw a changeup. He struck Reddick out in a previous game on a changeup, game 2, I believe. So a 3-2 count. So I could see him throwing that, but if you haven't thrown one, it's a tough spot to throw one in a huge situation.
High drive to deep right field. Betts is back on it. On the track, it is caught by Betts. Mookie Betts, perhaps saving Boston's season in the right field corner. Mitch Moreland takes strike 1 from Brad Peacock, and off we go in the bottom of the second. My goodness, this was inches away from being a 6-0 Houston advantage. But Mookie Betts robs a home run of Josh Reddick to keep Boston in this game. Now an opposite field base hit from Moreland to open the second.
Maybe that'll be the play that gets the Red Sox going. Sometimes it's not on offense, it's on defense. And when Josh Reddick hit that ball, I thought it was gone. In every other park, that's a home run. So Fenway can give you home runs and give you hits to left. But if you hit it to right, you better get it all.
Hit it 375 feet, a 375-foot out, Coney.
Yeah, that usually works at that part of the ballpark, as AJ said, just about anywhere else, but not at Fenway.
In Houston, that's 12 rows deep. At Yankee Stadium, your old stomping grounds, that's in the upper deck. So
probably does hit the second deck.
And the wall varies in height out there, anywhere from 3 to 5 feet. That was at the lowest part of it. Now Betts reaches over it, brings it in. Andy Ramirez now looks at a fastball for a strike.
It's another example when you look at the right field that Mookie Betts has played all year, especially here in this ballpark, along with Jackie Bradley Jr. in center. They are the 2 best to ever man this ballpark in those positions. Covering ground, range, amazing.
Hanley Ramirez, an opposite field single, and that's back-to-back hits to open the second for Boston. We talked about this crowd needing something to feel good about, something to cheer for, really, following the 2 games in Houston, following the first inning of this one. And the hits on the heels of the Betts catch perhaps finally providing that. Here's Rafael Devers.
Two really good swings by Mitch Moreland and Hanley Ramirez going the other way. But now this is key for the Red Sox because Devers has had 5 really bad at bats, swinging every pitch they've thrown. So this is a key at bat right here in this game, early in the game, to try to get the Red Sox some guys in scoring position, if not drive some runs in.
2 on, nobody out. The 20-year-old takes inside ball 1. Two and out.
You can almost see Peacock's pace pick up a little bit here as opposed to his first inning. The game is starting to speed up.
His 2-0 pitch is low and inside, and it's 3-0 on Devers.
And for all the talk about what a mild-mannered guy that A.J. Hinch was giving us before the game, well, guess what? You're in Fenway Park. You got a 3-run lead. You just gave up back-to-back hits. Your heart starts beating a little faster because you know what the Red Sox are capable of. So it's understandable. This is where McCann, if this guy, something happens, has got to go to the mound.
Strike 1.
Never like to go to the mound in the middle of a hitter. I never did. Especially 3-0. I just, whatever happens here. But if this guy gets on or something happens here, you have to go out there and just talk to him. Give him a breather. More than anything.
Bottom of the zone, strike 2.
If you're a Houston fan, it's the bottom of the zone. If you're a Red Sox fan, that pitch is low. No doubt about it. Not even close.
So after falling behind 3-0, Peacock has gotten back into it. Now brings a 3-2. That's low, and the bases are loaded.
McCann goes out to the mound just like we just talked about. Hey, breather. Let's get one out. If he gets a double play, you give up one right here, you're okay. And there'll be a longer leash here for A.J. Hinch because of the 2-0 series lead. But you don't want to get too long of a leash because you don't want to give the Red Sox any sort of momentum in this game and in the series.
Well, Brad Peacock started in Fenway Park his last start of the regular season and was solid. 2 runs over 5 innings, and said that was a huge thing for his confidence because previously at Fenway, earlier in his career, gave up 11 runs over 8 innings in 2 starts and didn't want that to be the lingering memory of this place coming into the biggest start of his life.
There's a long list of pitchers, Coney, that have those bad memories here at Fenway Park. I'm sure you had some great outings here, but you always remember the bad outings. So I'm sure there was a bad outing every once mixed in there.
You know, the late great reliever for the Royals, Dan Quisenberry, summed it up best. He said that the Green Monster has a heartbeat, and with the bases loaded at Fenway Park, you start to feel it thumping.
Leone stands in. Strike 1. We talked about it in the top of this inning, but Leone in the lineup because he's been the primary catcher for Doug Fister this year. That's not to take away from what he's done offensively in his time in this series. 2 hits when he started game 1. The 0-1. Strike 2.
And from what I've seen, the first 2 pitches, 2 sliders to Leone. So Strami, the pitching coach for the Astros, came out, and McCann are like, hey, we just threw all fastballs. Let's try something else. Get him to slow down, get him to calm down, change your arm angle, and even if it's a ball, it gets you back locked in sometimes.
Slow your pace down just enough.
You had mentioned how he started to speed up when he issued that walk to Devers. Now home with an 0-2, and Leone takes it low for ball 1. Line to left field, base hit. They go station to station. The Red Sox on the board on a base hit from Sandy Leon.
Bases loaded, nobody out. Let's go pitch to pitch. Oh, slider in, gets him to swing over it. Backs it up on the outer third, then down, misses 0-2. Chooses the fastball. Stays flat and middle away. Kind of did him a favor there, even though it was trying to get to the outside corner after swinging over the sliders. Leon says, thank you very much.
Surprising. I would have thrown him another slider. He swung and missed and looked so bad at him.
Still loaded. Jackie Bradley takes inside ball one.
And that's been the pitch that's kind of elevated Brad Peacock to the success he's had, is that slider. And Sandy Leon literally had no chance on the first two. So, like you said, Coney, doing him a favor by throwing him a fastball, especially out over the plate.
Joe Musgrove. Big rip and a miss from Bradley, and it's 1-1. You go from one guy who's in the lineup for his defense in Leon, contributes with his bat, to another who's in there for his defense in the center fielder Bradley, although he contributed with a bat in game 2, driving in both Boston runs. On this 1-1, on the corner, says the home plate umpire, and it's 1-2. Then Barrett, the crew chief today, back there.
Probably breaks around the plate. Quiet glove from McCann.
That ball didn't even break. It just kind of stayed there. So
got him swinging. He had no choice but to go after it when it's in the same spot that had just been called a strike.
I threw a lot of backdoor sliders in my career, AJ. Sometimes it's the illusion that it's going to get there and it never gets there. You got a little break there and got the call on a pitch that stayed off the plate, and that entices Bradley. Well, I got to go out and get it now. And
that was the thing as a hitter that you couldn't explain to the umpire was, yeah, I know it wasn't strike 3 that you called on me, but it leads to the next pitch. I have to swing at a bad pitch because in my mind, you just called that pitch a strike, even though it was probably off the plate. You expand a little bit because in a big situation, you don't want to go up there and take another pitch and strike out looking.
Top of the order, Xander Bogaerts, with the bases still loaded. Bogaerts 0 for 10 in this postseason.
And a bad at bat by Jackie Bradley. You have to put the ball in play. You have to get at least one run in there somehow. And I know he's trying. I've been there. I've struck out with the bases loaded, but you just got to figure out a way, especially in high leverage situations.
Quickly 0-2.
the contrast in styles from these two teams, the offensive approach, the very patient approach from the Red Sox compared to the Astros, who are swinging the bat early in the count.
He struck out Bradley. Now in an 0-2 to Bogaerts. A bouncing ball to first. Coming home is Gurriel. They get the out there. So 2 outs, and thus far Boston only able to bring 1 home in a bases loaded, nobody out situation.
Very decisive play for Gurriel on first base. Never a doubt. Come and get it. Cut down the runner at home.
Well, he knew, Tony, that he probably couldn't turn 2 because of the softness and the angle. But if he's coming in as a first baseman, he gets the short hop, which is the right thing. And Brian McCann's foot is just barely on the plate. I mean, barely on the plate. It's close enough to where you almost want to review it.
You know, they're going through that process in the Boston dugout.
Yeah, but the shot clock's expired already.
Yeah, so they've gone through that process. No luck. 2 outs. Pedroia. 1-0.
I mean, that's as close as you can get. I was always taught to put your foot on the back corner, so that we're the very back. So if you have to come off, but I mean, that is as close as you can get to not being on the plate.
Different than a bag in that it's hard to put your foot up against it.
There's nowhere. That's why I was always taught to put it on the very back corner. So if the throw pulls you, you can drag your foot a little bit.
Pedroia lifts one to left field. Gonzalez is there, and the inning is over. Boston settles for one in an inning where they had the bases loaded with nobody out. They do get on the board. It's a 3-1 game after 2 innings in Boston. Jose Altuve set to lead off this 3rd inning for Houston. 3 batting titles over the last 4 years, and none better than his mark this year, .346. A 5-time All-Star in his 6th full Major League season. And he'll face Joe Kelly, who got the Red Sox out of a jam in the 2nd inning, keeping it 3-0 at that point. It stays in there here, delivering ball 1. Well, votes were already casted, turned in as far as the MVP goes prior to the postseason, and for Altuve, that's kind of a bummer with what he's done so far. Not that he didn't make one heck of a case during the regular season. Digs it out into center, a base hit. He's amazing.
He's on every pitch. Fastball, sliders.
And even his outs are hit hard. That's not supposed to be a hit right there, Coney. That's supposed to be a ground ball to short, or at very worst, a little weak pop-up. But Jose Altuve stays right on it, and another knock for him up the middle.
Slider below the zone would not have been called a strike in all probability.
Runner on with nobody out. Here's Carlos Correa.
And Altuve was going right there. There was a very definite lean / tick when Joe Kelly went to first. So the Astros said they're going to be hyper aggressive today, and here's their opportunity.
Got a good lead again. Not running. Correa bounces into what should be 2. There's 1 and 2. A 6-4-3 double play wipes the bases clear. So 2 gone in the 3rd inning as Altuve heads back to the dugout. We say hello for the first time today to J.P. Morosi.
Well, Joe, as you mentioned, Altuve probably would love for the AL MVP balloting to continue through the division series, because New York's Aaron Judge did have a very strong closing argument. Judge had the better power numbers, which is usually a pretty big factor for MVP voters. He also scored more runs than Altuve and was a decisive player in his team, making the playoffs at the very end. So it would not surprise me if it's Judge winning the MVP this year.
His rookie record, 52 home runs that he hit, including that hot finish that you mentioned. Marwin Gonzalez watches on bounce, 1-0.
Well, Coney, I know you're biased towards Aaron Judge.
Well, I got to watch Aaron Judge every day, but I'm also a big fan of Jose Altuve. He's an MVP waiting to happen. He's been all over this award almost since he came to the big leagues, really. But the last 4 years, I think he easily has made an MVP case.
It was 3rd last year, behind Trout and Betts. You saw a moment ago, David Price has started to warm through 38 pitches in game 2. They don't expect him to be available for a really long outing here, maybe a couple of innings. Gonzalez knifes one into left center for a base hit that'll bounce its way into the backhanded glove of Benintendi. And a late stop from Gonzalez on a nice play by the Boston left fielder.
Once again, the range of the Red Sox outfield on display. Benintendi. This looked like double all the way, AJ. I mean, that's getting in the gap, but I talked about Bradley and Betts on the other ends. Benintendi's got good range as well and a good arm.
The throw stopped him. The quick release and the throw stopped Marwin Gonzalez from continuing his second. But the beat goes on for the Astros. All they do is just get hit, get a hit, one after the other.
Already 6 of them today. And he kept alive for Alex Bregman.
There's been some great outfielders in Boston Red Sox history. You know, you can talk about Yaz playing the wall, Fred Lynn in center, Dwight Evans in right field, all great, but nobody's covered the ground ever, in my opinion, than these 3 guys playing today.
Yeah, collectively.
Collectively together. Range, arm strength.
These throwovers right here are to get David Price ready for the next hitter, Carlos Beltran, to turn him around to the right side where he's definitely less comfortable.
You wonder at that point if A.J. Hinch would counter with Evan Gattis. Same thing here, buying a little time.
Absolutely. Why else would you come after 2 throwovers? Why else do you come to, I mean, Coney, you're a pitcher, I was a catcher. Why else do you come to the mound if you're Carl Willis other than be like, hey, we're stalling right here? There's nothing to be said that hasn't already been told to him.
Well, now that David Price is up and getting hot, I mean, you almost have to bring him in this game at some point. The last thing you want to do is make a guy like David Price with a history of arm trouble to get up and down 2 or 3 times before you bring him into a game.
If Price is hot, he's coming in. Whether it's after this, it's going to be after this hitter. It's just a matter of whether it's this inning or next. But he's coming into the game for the next hitter.
Bregman the hitter with a man at first and 2 out. Kelly delivers and Bregman hits it foul. Skipping up into the seat, strike 1. Bullpen's been the strength for Boston all year. And if their year is going to extend at least one more day, it'll largely be because of that bullpen. Pressed into duty with 1 out in the second today. Kelly's 0-1. Up and in on Bregman. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Just see how uncomfortable the Red Sox dugout is right now in the decision making in a sport that's usually a marathon. Now in this situation becomes so uncomfortable for decision makers. There is no tomorrow. You plan for the whole season, trying to look at the big picture. Well, the big picture now is you go home tomorrow if you lose.
Good lead for Gonzalez. On ball 2.
And when we have the meetings with the managers, we always ask, what's the perfect scenario? What would you like to do with your pitching? Well, guess what? That perfect scenario went out when Carlos Correa's ball went over the fence in the first inning. So the perfect scenario now is to piece together 9 innings, score more runs than the Astros, and play tomorrow.
It's kind of been the only scenario across baseball this postseason. Earlier and earlier, you're seeing managers go into that bullpen. Part of that has been really bad starting pitching. Part of that has just been the more aggressive nature the games are now managed. Two balls, 2 strikes on Alex Bregman. Marwin Gonzalez off of first. And here it comes. Driven the other way. That sends Betts back onto the edge of the track to make the catch. Covers so much ground. Has made a couple of nice defensive plays today. To the bottom of the third in a 3-1 game. Three-run first inning from the Astros. Red Sox settling for one despite a bases loaded, nobody out situation in the second. Andrew Benintendi takes ball one from Brad Peacock to open the bottom of the third. Top of this Boston order: Bogarts, Pedroia, Benintendi. 3 for 28 this postseason. Benintendi flied to right his first time. Only 23 years old in his first full major league season. And it's been a really good year for him. Our 7th overall pick out of Arkansas. He's ahead of Peacock 2-1.
Yeah, in any other year he'd be vying for the Rookie of the Year without a doubt, but not in the year where Aaron Judge hit 52 homers. He would probably finish second.
Yeah, I think Judge has that one wrapped up.
It's fouled back 2-2. It'd be a good trivia question though, right? Because Benintendi's probably going to go on to a really good career. Who is the runner-up to Aaron Judge for Rookie of the Year? Brad Peacock, 29-year-old from Florida. And his first postseason start, the hallowed grounds of Fenway Park. Runs it full on Benintendi. Benson Moreland to follow in this inning. But it's Benintendi leading it off by striking out, chasing what would have been ball 4. So Peacock gets his 3rd K.
Classic expanding the strike zone with that two-seamer running off the plate. Benintendi chasing.
Now with his father Jerry Peacock watching on, is at many of Brad's starts. That's been the case much of his career, all the way back to JUCO ball.
I love the hat. Absolutely love the hat.
That's a strikeout, Mookie Betts.
Slim's Fish Camp in Belle Glade, Florida. That is a classic place and a classic hat.
That's it, foul. For more on father and son, down to JP.
Well, Joe, earlier today, a ritual that's been repeated for almost every single one of Brad Peacock's 231 professional starts. You see here, he throws his final warm-up pitch and he tosses the ball up to his father. Now, Jerry Peacock was a police officer for 33 years. He retired to follow Brad's career, driving a utility trailer and a motorhome all around the eastern United States. And Brad told us yesterday, Joe, for a little bit of time, Dad slept a lot at the AA ballpark in Harrisburg, PA.
And made friends everywhere he went, Brad said. He's never met a person that he couldn't carry on a conversation with.
I don't know about you, but that would drive me crazy, Coney. My parents followed me around everywhere. I'd be like, Mom, Dad, I need a break.
And 0-2 to Betts upstairs. I think Jerry's phone's blowing up. He just gained 1,000 Twitter followers. I'm famous.
Slim's Fish Camp owes him a freebie at this point.
0-2.
I mean, my parents went as far as sending me like stick figures FedEx when I couldn't get a hit for a couple days. So, but if they would have been there every day, that would have. I understand it. It's great if that's what they like, but for me, that would have been a little bit too much.
Stick figures.
Yeah, my mom one day FedExed me stick figures on my stance.
Wow.
There was a phone call after the game, needless to say.
Here's another 1-2 to Mookie Betts. Just misses. 2-2.
good looking pitch right here. We've had a pitcher's strike zone from home plate umpire Ted Barrett today. This is the one pitch that didn't go the pitcher's way.
This one doesn't either, in a full count. Orlin due next. Who will it be for the Boston Red Sox? It was Betts that provided the first jolt to this ballpark, robbing a home run. On a payoff pitch, he strikes out, and that is back-to-back Ks to open the inning for Brad Peacock.
His best pitch, a really tight slider, and when it's right, it's hard to hit.
And you see the frustration starting to mount on the Red Sox hitters. Mookie Betts slapping his bat down to the ground. That's just knowing the situation and knowing the pressure the Red Sox are under to try to score some runs.
Here's Moreland, who did score their only run. Takes inside for ball one. You mentioned that slider of Brad Peacock's. That is a big part of the reason he's turned his career around. Learned it while he was in AAA last year during the AAA All-Star break. Kind of reached rock bottom in his career, was getting lit up. The Pacific Coast League. It's lit up here on a high fly ball. Way back into the triangle. Springer looks and watches it ricochet off the wall. Orlin's got a 2-out double. He just picked on the wrong part of the park.
The Bermuda Triangle. Every center fielder's nightmare. Up against the garage door out there. High fastball. Whacked to dead center. And Springer just doesn't know what to do at that point.
Great play by Reddick, though, to be behind him, because if he's not there, there's a good chance that's an inside the park home run because of the way they ricocheted off the fence. But great job by Reddick right there to be and hold him to a double.
Yeah, they hit so hard off that door that even with Mitch Moreland running, you never know. Reddick's not standing there. Brent Strom, the pitching coach, out there again. Just to finish off that thought about Peacock turning his career around, as you see Francisco Liriano getting loose in the Houston bullpen. But he learned a slider from one of his minor league teammates, Jordan Jankowski. And 2 starts later, using that new slider, struck out 13. Knew that he turned a corner. He said he would have told you you were crazy if you would have told him he'd be pitching in this spot a little more than a year later.
You know, A.J. Hinch talked about getting the technology involved, the TrackMan, to find the right spin rate that was optimal for Peacock. They found it. Well above average spin rate compared to the average major league slider.
He now faces the tying run at the plate, Hanley Ramirez. Ripped to left field. Gonzalez angles back off his glove, and Boston gets to within 1 on back-to-back 2-out doubles from Moreland and Ramirez.
Just an absolute missile off the bat of Hanley Ramirez. Picks on the first pitch over Marwin Gonzalez's head. A lot of times after a meeting on the mound, you know you're going to get a first pitch strike. Hanley Ramirez looks for the 1, hits it over Gonzalez's head, and Marwin kicks it around a little bit, allowing Hanley to get to second.
And it is ruled a single with an error on Gonzalez. It's a 3-2 game, and that signals the end of the day for Brad Peacock. The Red Sox have the tying run in scoring position, down 2-0 here in the 3rd inning of Game 3. Quick hook for Brad Peacock, but the postseason calls for it. Allows at least 2 runs over 2 2/3 and leaves with a tying run at second. Hands it off to Liriano, who delivers strike 1 to Rafael Devers. So A.J. Hinch goes to the only left-hander in his bullpen in Liriano to face the left-handed batting Devers. But Devers is a .400 hitter this season against left-handed pitching.
Devers has a lot of power the other way. He really stays in there against left-handed pitching.
High drive right center field. That ball puts Boston in front. And the kid has his first signature postseason moment. Two pitches after A.J. Hinch goes to Liriano. Rafael Devers changes the game, and for now, this series. Sandy Leon takes a strike. We asked the question, who would it be for Boston? Right now, the answer is the 20-year-old Devers.
We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for someone to step up for the Boston Red Sox. And guess what? The 20-year-old kid says, let it be me. And that ball is absolutely crushed over the bullpen at center.
1-2 on Leon.
The slider out over the plate. Ends up 430 feet away.
Leon digs it out into the left field corner. Boston suddenly with all the momentum. A long single for Leon, who is back in before the throw. And they've done this all, guys, with 2 outs. Remember, Peacock struck out the 3-hitter Benintendi and the cleanup man Betts before Moreland and Ramirez both got hits to bring up Devers.
Finally, some smiles in that Red Sox dugout. When that ball left the bat, it's like a huge weight was off their shoulders. Woo, we can hit, and we can't hit home runs.
Ball 1 on Bradley.
In between innings, the song by Tom Petty, "Don't Back Down," got this crowd lit up a bit too.
Actually showed during the pitching change, Coney. I don't know if you saw on the video board here, somebody had a t-shirt. On the front of the t-shirt, it said 28-3 Falcons, and on the back it had the final score of the Super Bowl with New England's comeback. There it is. A wild swing and a miss, 1-2.
Just a great shirt. And on a side note, my son wanted to watch that game, and I told him, "Oh, go to bed, son. You know, Falcons won the Super Bowl when you woke up." And somehow he suckered me into staying up and watched the end, and Patriots won.
So they know a little something about comebacks around here. One of the most famous comebacks in baseball history, the 2004 American League Championship Series, where they trailed the Yankees 3-0. A 2-2 to Jackie Bradley is upstairs, and it's a full count.
Either way, this is Liriano's last hitter.
Leon takes off. Bradley rips one to first, caught by Gurriel. Boston has equaled its total from the first 2 games. Fenway has come alive after the 2-run home run from Rafael Devers. And now it's a lead for David Price to protect, trying to extend Boston's season one more day.
From the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the
Back in the Green Monster and back at Fenway Park, where the Red Sox have taken their first lead of this series at 4-3 on the home run from Rafael Devers. Into the game comes David Price. Carlos Beltran remains in, switching over to the right side and takes strike one. The plan coming into the postseason was that David Price would be a key piece, and he was in game 2, but Red Sox really haven't been able to utilize him like they'd expected because they haven't had any leads to work with. 1 ball and 1 strike. Elbow problems throughout the year, started in spring training. 2 separate DL stints. When he came back from the most recent one, they didn't figure there was enough time to build him up to get his arm ready to be a starter. And plus, this has proven to be a really, really valuable role across baseball in recent years.
Good sign his velocity is retained after his first appearance in this series in game 2.
Through 38 pitches. He's home with a 1-2 to Carlos Beltran.
And the Red Sox, ironically, kind of made this role famous with a guy, Andrew Miller, who now everyone calls it the Andrew Miller role. And now David Price is kind of following suit. Another failed starter. Not that David Price, he wants to be a starter, so I don't want you to think I'm saying that. But Andrew Miller, a failed starter, goes to the bullpen, much like a lot of other guys now that you see coming into this role for multiple innings in the postseason in huge spots.
1-2. Again, John Farrell said probably not more than a couple of innings today after using him for a pretty good run on Friday. There was some speculation that Price could be the game 4 starter. Farrell even acknowledged yesterday that yes, perhaps that was in play, but when Doug Fister only lasts 1 1/3, that's all thrown out the window, any potential of it. Bottom of the Houston order here in the 4th. A 2-2 pitch. This is no small thing. Beltran making Price work. We talk about how important the pitch count's going to be. He's having to use at least 8 bullets on the first batter. Ground ball to second. Dustin Pedroia. That was a huge signing for the Red Sox, getting David Price prior to last season. 7 years, $217 million, and he had a good debut season. Went 17-9. Was not good in the postseason though. Came back this year with the elbow issues we talked about. Some controversy off of the field and dealing with the media. Was valuable in game 2 with a 2 2/3 scoreless. That was to try and keep it close. This outing is to try and extend the series. Yuli Gurriel.
There's one thing we've learned over the years, Coney. You don't want to fight with the Boston media. And as soon as that starts, it usually puts you in trouble from the get-go. And David Price, for as great as he's been, you cannot start that, especially in Boston.
Opposite field, base hit for Gurriel. He has 2 singles in as many tries today. 1 out base runner for Houston.
Well, that's well said, AJ, and that's just a battle that you don't really need to pick, especially when you go after a Hall of Famer like Dennis Eckersley, who's routinely in the broadcast booth for Nesson covering the Red Sox. I've always found that if you just pull a guy aside and have a conversation with him, you don't need to ambush somebody, you know, on the airplane, on the charter, in front of all your teammates. Now, certainly there's more than meets the eye. Only David Price can speak to his motives, and Dennis Eckersley has kept to himself for the most part in terms of that particular incident. Clearly ill-advised. 1
on 1 out. Brian McCann looks at ball 1. That was, if you're unfamiliar with the situation, which if you're a Boston fan, you're not. You're probably sick of hearing about it. But Dennis Eckersley made a comment about a line on the screen that he saw in a rehab start for Eduardo Rodriguez. David Price had heard that comment, didn't like it, and confronted him soon after when Eckersley boarded the team plane. That is a missile to right center field, but Betts is there, and McCann's the second out.
And as a player, you always run into these situations where somebody says something or somebody writes something, and you're having a bad day, and you come in and you hear it, and, or you read it, and you want to go get the guy. It's just manly, and you're in the clubhouse, and guys are asking you about it, and you want to blow up. And you're right, Coney. The best thing to do is just kind of say, okay, let's sit down and talk about this privately and not do it in public, and it can lead to a lot more problems than just the original issue.
Top of the order for the Astros in a 4-3 game. Here's George Springer taking ball one. Springer 1 for 2 today. Started the game with a single. And came into score on a Josh Reddick base hit. Astros had a 3-0 lead before Boston even batted. Chasing Doug Fister from this game with 1 out in the second. Strike 1. Pretty cool thing for George Springer playing in this game here at Fenway Park. He grew up coming to games here. Native of New Britain, Connecticut. He and his family would sometimes make multiple trips per week here to Fenway to watch the Red Sox. Hundreds of games growing up here for him. He's ahead of Price 2-1. His father said that the first time he saw him play here brought tears to his eyes, thinking about all the times they came here as fans. Trying to beat his boyhood team on a 2-1 pitch from David Price. He watches it buzz over the inside corner. Strike 2.
Another look. David Price is all over this zone with his fastball. That's where he lives, in and just off the plate in, with some of his best stuff.
A scoreless inning of relief for David Price as he sits down George Springer swinging. Four unanswered for the Red Sox, and they lead it 4-3 to the bottom of the 4th inning. New pitcher in the game for Houston is Lance McCullers, and facing the top of the Boston order, he's in there with strike 1 on Xander Bogaerts. McCullers was an all-star this year as a starter, but dealt with back problems, some arm fatigue lately, missed a month and a half, had a rough second half, and missed out in the postseason rotation, but coming in here for his first career relief appearance.
One of the better sliders you're going to see from a young right-hander, and not afraid to feature it as well.
Now, Coney, would you consider that a slider or more of a curveball? Because it has more up to down than kind of side to side action, like a true slider.
Yeah, more slurvy, kind of a hybrid, somewhere in between a curve and a slider, and he can vary the break depending on if it's a righty or a lefty.
The velocity says slider.
That's hit off him. He recovers. High throw, but it's pulled down by Gurriel for the first out. Yeah, got a pretty good chunk of Lance McCullers. Now he considers it a curveball, but you're right, it does have some slider tendencies to it.
The velocity says slider, 87, 88, but the break says curveball. So it's an interesting pitch and an interesting thing.
Another look right back up the box. And a better view.
Right ankle?
Looked like ankle area or shin. On the outside of the right foot, maybe the ankle. Every pitcher gets him there. I've got scars on my shins, AJ. I have to wear pants at the beach sometimes. I have so many scars on my shins from these type of line drives back up the box.
I do also, but mine are from you throwing me that pitch and me fouling it off my own shin. So other guys did damage to you. I did damage to myself from you guys throwing me those sliders breaking in at my feet.
The breaking pitch of his, highest spin rate of any curveball in baseball. And it really is what has made McCullers' career. First one to Dustin Pedroia is up, ball 1.
And there's kind of the new verbiage: spin rate, launch angle, exit velocity, all the things you hear about when you watch a baseball game now. That's what people are into, and it makes sense.
1-1. Pedroia drags it gently to third. Bregman's got it. Pedroia hustling even with that bum knee, but Bregman gets him, 2 out. And a 4-3 game here in the 4th inning. Time for StatCast, powered by Amazon Web Services. Right up there with Rich Hill, who started for the Dodgers last night. Drew Pomeranz, who the Astros pummeled out of game 2. The Astros as a staff have put more focus on the curveball than any staff in baseball the last couple of years. McCullers to Benintendi. Ball 1.
That stat's interesting, Coney, because we talked about it pregame today. Like, you can throw a lot of curveballs, but you better have a really good one, because eventually teams are going to start looking for that because they have the same number. So you can't always throw the same one. Sometimes you have to throw a slower one or a harder one, a la Rich Hill of the Dodgers. McCullers seems like every one that comes out of his hand is as hard as he can throw it.
She could always cop out and call it a breaking ball. Somewhere in between a curve and a slider. That one at 86 miles an hour there on the back door.
The base is empty and 2 out. Here's a 2-1, and Benintendi bangs it foul, strike 2. You
can see how tight that is. That's not a curveball in my book. This one to the other side of the plate. You can see the spin, though. That's got a little more depth to it as Benintendi's around it.
Full count.
Call it whatever you want, but it's pretty good, and it's got really tight spin on it.
McCullers looking for a 1-2-3-4. Benintendi serves it up the middle. Correa stabs it but throws wide. Benintendi headed for second.
Well, really excellent range, even to get to this ball. And Benintendi, with no hesitation, knowing this ballpark, easily makes a decision to turn the corner and head for second.
Wrote a single with an error on the throw from Correa.
Pretty good play by Correa just to get to that. Being aggressive, trying to make an amazing throw. Didn't work out. That's a tough error. I understand it has to be an error, but that's a tough error.
Second one of the day charged to Houston. And a 2-out RBI chance for Mookie Betts, who struck out both times today. You wonder how much that wrist is bothering Betts. He hasn't looked totally right on his swings.
The 2 strikeouts so far, 0 for 2. And this is a tough matchup too. McCullers is very difficult for right-handed batters.
It's the left wrist, it's the right thumb, or mostly the wrist lately. On a 1-0, he takes it by the hands, ball 2.
We saw the pain that Mookie Betts was in Game 2 in Houston. But anybody who knows the Red Sox or has been around them knew that he'd be in this lineup today. There was never a doubt.
3 balls, no strikes. This is what you're talking about from Game 2. This was really a meaningless at bat late. Fouled off a pitch and was taken out of the game right after that defensively. Said the off day was important, but it's probably not going to be 100% regardless of how long this postseason goes for Boston. Off day yesterday was his 25th birthday. He's packed in a lot of good baseball to only a few years in the majors. Now the green light if he wants it. Instead it's high and a 4-pitch walk.
And an interesting choice, 3-0 curveball right there to a guy that hasn't been swinging it real well. We documented the wrist injury. That just shows you that as much as we've talked about his curveball with Lance McCullers, he obviously believes, and Brian McCann believes, he has a better chance of throwing that for a strike than a 3-0 fastball. Most of the time, you know what? I'll just lay it in there and try and steal a strike. Instead, he went 3-0 breaking ball with a lefty on deck in Mitch Moreland.
Home runs mean more this postseason as T-Mobile's guaranteed at least $1 million for hurricane recovery efforts. With every home run hit, worth $10,000. Help break $1 million by tweeting hashtag HR4HR, and T-Mobile will donate an additional $1 per tweet. Good day for Mitch Moreland. Single and a double, and he scored 2 of the 4 Boston runs. Quietly a really valuable pickup for the Red Sox this year. A bargain contract, 1 year, $5.5 million. 32-year-old former Rangers put together a really nice campaign. Rip and a miss, strike 1. Bad intentions with that one, Coney.
McCullers just is not going to give in. 70% sliders so far in this particular outing.
A 1 pitch. That's a foul ball, and we check in with JP.
Joe, Mitch Moreland had a better contract offer last winter from another playoff team, the Cleveland Indians, but he signed here in Boston for less money because he wanted to play his games at Fenway Park.
And the most meaningful one he's ever played in here. Game 3 of this American League Division Series. Astros rolling over the first 2. A pair of 8-2 wins in Houston. They got out of the gates hurry in this one, and a hurry in this one, led 3-0. 4 in a row for the Red Sox, and a 4-3 lead in the 4th.
If you're Brian McCann going to the mound, you're like, dude, can we try a fastball maybe? Every pitch is a breaking ball, and I understand it's his best pitch, but at some point you got to try something different.
Especially when you have 96 miles an hour in your back pocket anytime you want it.
I mean, we saw the other names on that list of guys that throw the curveball a lot. The next guy on the list, Rich Hill, he's a low 90s fastball guy. Got him with this one. And so McCullers able to ride that curve out of the inning with no damage done. And after 4 innings in Boston in Game 3, the Red Sox in front of the Astros by 1. Welcome back to the ALDS on FS1, presented by Doosan. In Boston, kind of a dreary day here, and the spirits in the ballpark were a little bit dreary coming into the game, and over the first couple innings, the Red Sox have put this place on fire, taking the lead 4-3 on a home run from Rafael Devers as David Price delivers strike one to Josh Reddick. Reddick 1 for 2 today. Drove home a run, scored a run, and that 3-run first. Called off with a home plate umpire Ted Barrett, 0-2.
You're not hurting Teddy Barrett with a foul ball. He used to spar with Mike Tyson and some of the other great boxing heavyweights. He was a heavyweight sparring partner for a long time. So anytime you'd have Teddy Barrett behind home plate, you'd always get into a boxing conversation. I wouldn't mess with him.
I was going to say, you're probably less likely to argue with him then too. Reddick puts it in play, and moving over there is Devers. His low throw is late. Playing out of position in the shift on the right side. Defense has been an issue for him at the hot corner. Not that that was an easy play, but one that, you know, Price feels like should have been made.
Tough play for Devers. He's out of position. He's normally a third baseman. He's kind of playing straight up second base. Chopper over the mound. Does everything right. Josh Reddick just beat it. And that's why you see a lot of teams leave their second baseman there and put the third baseman kind of in the rover.
Altuve hits it foul, strike one.
The Red Sox opting to put Devers at the normal second base, and Reddick beat it.
Altuve muscles one into right. Another base hit for Jose Altuve. He's now 2 for 3 today and has reached in 9 of his 12 plate appearances in this ALDS. So 2 on and nobody out, and the cleanup man Carlos Correa comes to the plate.
For all the talk about how great David Price has been, this is a huge at bat. First and second, nobody out. Your cleanup hitter. Price is 22 pitches in after throwing a bunch of pitches last game. Absolutely huge at bat for the Red Sox season right here.
Yeah, facing the All-Star in Correa, who had a 2-run home run in the first inning. Ball one inside. This is in the first inning off of Doug Fister. Made it 3-0 Houston. His second home run of this series, and his 4th already in the postseason in his career. Broken bat bounce at a third. Devers will step on the bag, and that's all. So a big first out for David Price. Getting Correa to bounce into a fielder's choice. And bringing out Marwin Gonzalez.
You see the off center. Kind of a cutter boring in. Very effective. Breaks Correa's bat. The sound tells you everything you need to know, but Correa runs well, and a good decision by Devers at third. Probably couldn't have turned that one around the horn, so took the force play at third.
And settles for a situation where a ground ball would get Price out of this inning. The 5-hitter Gonzalez now. Astros trying to respond, facing adversity really for the first time in this series, trailing for the first time in this series. With 2 on and 1 out, here comes Price. Perfectly placed.
Interesting situation here with Altuve, who can steal a base, and Correa at first, who can also steal a base. Dustin Pedroia working really hard to keep Altuve close at second, because ideally Altuve wants to get to third here with less than 2 outs and give his guy Gonzalez a chance. And also with Fenway Park in the short left field, you always want to get to third base because it sometimes takes 2 hits to left field to score you from second, even with a guy like Altuve's speed.
0-1, strike 2. Tying run at second is Altuve. Go ahead run at first, Correa. 0-2 pitch. As ball 1 at 96. On a team that has Altuve and Correa, Bregman, Beltran, you know, the list goes on. It's this man, Marwin Gonzalez, that drove in more than anybody else during the regular season. Chance to tie it here in the 5th of game 3. One, 2. 2-2.
Woo. That's a good take, but man, we've seen that pitch called a couple times already, and wow.
It's best fastball of the day so far at 97 miles an hour from David Price, and nobody warming up in the bullpen.
A little bit of a mislocation, possibly why Teddy Barrett thought it was a ball, but wow, that's too close to take with 2 strikes.
So new life for Gonzalez. 2 on with 1 out and a 2-2 pitch. Cue shot foul. Next pitch will be the 30th for David Price. Bullpen employed early with a short start from Doug Fister. If Boston will extend its season, the bullpen is going to be the primary reason for it. Nobody warming. John Farrell going to squeeze every drop out of David Price this afternoon. Set for another 2-2. And between Price and Rick Porcello, who worked the scoreless inning of relief earlier in the series, Craig Kimbrell, they've been pretty good. It's been the rest of the staff that struggled mightily. All 3 starters they've employed in this series have struggled mightily.
Well, how long can Price go? That's kind of the question we're at right now. John Farrell and Carl Willis, the pitching coach, are asking the same question. The boys in the bullpen haven't moved a whole lot, but how long can David Price go? He's had a bum elbow kind of the whole year, so how long can you run him out there?
He wins this battle with Gonzalez. And it looked like he pulled the string to get it.
Well, he held this one in his back pocket and said, let me go to the changeup, the classic circle change grip. Kind of pulled it over to the inside corner, probably not where he wanted to go with it, but got it down. And clearly the velocity worked as Gonzalez is way out in front.
Yeah, usually you don't want that changeup cutting.
You say that. Now, I played for Mike Maddox as a pitching coach and Don Cooper in Chicago. We used to work on throwing changeups in to certain hitters just because they see it and they go quick and it falls off the table.
Up to Bregman with 2 out. On the ground is short. Bogarts goes across his body to Pedroia, and David Price out of a jam that was created by him. 4-3 halfway home. Official caps, t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, and more. Celebrate your favorite team with the latest postseason gear at MLBshop.com. Bottom 5 in a 4-3 game. Lance McCullers back to work, facing 6, 7, and 8 in the Boston order, with Hanley Ramirez to lead it off. McCullers worked a scoreless 4th inning here in the first relief appearance of his career. Hanley Ramirez with a couple of base hits today. Drove in a run and scored his last time up. And AJ, you've said it throughout the series, but if the Red Sox are going to have a shot, they need Hanley Ramirez to provide some punch.
And he's done that today. 2 hits in the first game after he kind of was benched. When Coney and I both said, how can you not have Hanley Ramirez in the lineup? And he's responded. He swung the bat really well. I was counting on him maybe getting into one and touching one over the monster out there, or hitting one into the Crawford boxes, but the Red Sox will take 2 hits, a run scored, and provided a little spark with the flag and the pregame warm-ups, the whole deal.
Ramirez leading off this 5th. Here's a 1-1. He rips it to left field towards the monster. Puts a dent in it. On his way to second, then holds off. Hanley Ramirez is 3 for 3 and leads off this 5th with a single. You're talking about the intros prior to the game. He brings out "Believe in Boston" flag as they try to come from this 2-0 series deficit. And he's doing his best to contribute.
Just another rocket off the bat of Hanley Ramirez. He is locked in. Breaking ball from McCullers, and doesn't run like he used to, Coney, but got stopped at first. But just another bullet off the bat of Hanley Ramirez in a must-win situation.
You know, went out and yanked a high slider. Playing wall ball, making loud sounds off of that wall.
That brings up the most recent hero for the Red Sox, Rafael Devers, 20-year-old who hit the go-ahead home run a couple of innings back. Fouls this one off, and we go down to JP.
Well, Joe, the New York Yankees had interest in Devers as an amateur free agent in the Dominican Republic, but he signed with the Red Sox almost as soon as they made an offer. One big reason why: he grew up a Red Sox fan because of David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez.
Signed when he was 16 out of the Dominican, 2013. It's a hard ground ball to second that Altuve spins to Correa. His bullet of a throw is in time at first for a double play. John Farrell wants to take a look. As it stands, 4-6-3. They're going to challenge it.
Out. I got him out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Devers really stretching. Started to grab his leg after this as well. Ball in the glove. Boy, I don't know if that's conclusive enough to overturn anything there.
And remember, the call on the field is that he's out. I think very quickly this will be confirmed.
But if you're John Farrell, why not? You have 2 challenges with basically 1 inning to go. But I got him out. Should be quick. And nothing's ever quick with Major League Baseball replay.
You're right, Coney. I saw the same thing. Him kind of pull up and reach down and wince a little bit after lunging for the bag.
Trying to stretch out his hamstring. Good effort from Devers, but what an incredible turn. Altuve so quick, and Correa, boy, you talk about athleticism. All around ball players.
Absolutely. That was an amazing turn. Ball was kind of in the hole to Altuve's left, and he gets rid of it so quick, and then the arm strength from Correa to turn it around.
And the fact that they're in the shift to begin with, which adds a whole other layer to trying to turn double plays.
We tend to focus on the offense of these two young, great superstars, but they are ball players all around. And that was as impressive a turn on a double play that you will ever see.
The call is confirmed, so 2 out with the bases empty. And Sandy Leon to the plate. Well, how about Leon, who has 4 hits in this series, starting the 2 games that he started mostly because of the guys that were the starting pitchers. He's caught Chris Sale all season. He's caught Doug Fister's best starts. Anything they get with a bat is the icing on the cake.
He got off to a rough start in this game behind the plate. A couple wild pitches, kind of a ball that got past him, and Beltran get to third. But he's more than made up for it with his 2 big hits in this game. So there's an old saying, knock in more than you let in, Coney. I lived my whole life by that. So
It was Casey Stengel, right? The
Yeah.
great late Casey Stengel.
Look at that thing. Tail in for strike 3 from Lance McCullers. And for the first time today, one of these pitchers faces the minimum here on the ALDS on FS1, presented by Doosan. David Price back out there. Carlos Beltran to lead off the inning, taking ball 1 on the 33rd pitch from David Price, who threw 38 2 days ago. His season high out of the bullpen is 40. Be interesting to see how long John Farrell will let him go. Tries to lay off and does. Ball 2.
It's one of those situations where the manager goes up to the pitcher in the dugout and say, please, are you okay?
Yeah.
So give David Price credit.
and no action. No action in the Red Sox bullpen. They're riding David Price as long as they can.
Two and one, and I mean, we've talked about it as the game has gone on, but desperate times call for desperate measures. On a normal day, you wouldn't want to run David Price maybe this deep.
You have no choice.
Exactly.
Absolutely no choice. And we talked about Price's problems earlier. If he continues like this and they win this game, change the whole script for the whole season for David Price. They come back and win and get back into this series. It's David Price is a hero.
2-2 on Beltran.
How fickle those media members can be, Coney. You know what I mean? As a player, you're like, man, I don't like the media. Then you get on this side and you understand it from both sides, and it changes your whole outlook on everything.
I think I just heard AJ refer to himself as a media member, which is newsworthy. 2-2. 1 out. 5 times a team has erased a 2-0 deficit in the American League Division Series to win that series. And out of those 5 times, twice it's been the Red Sox. 1999, they did it against Cleveland. 2003, they did it in the memorable series against Oakland. And at the very least today, trying to avoid getting swept in the division series for a second year in a row. With 1 out, Yuli Gurriel pokes the first pitch that he sees into right for his 3rd hit of the day.
It's almost an identical swing to the one last time. Just getting the ball out over the plate and shooting it to right field. One about to go, you see a fastball out over the plate. He just sticks his bat out, goes to right field. Last at bat right here. This at bat, same thing. Another fastball out over the plate. Just shoots it to right. Take what the pitcher gives you.
Early and often continues for the Astros approach. First and second pitch swinging consistently throughout this series and really throughout the season.
Brian McCann representing the go-ahead run. Looks at a fastball at the top of the zone. Strike 1. The Astros, an historically good offensive team. When you combine the power numbers and the runs per game with the ability to put the ball in play. That is hit high in the air to right. Betts drifting back on it. He's got it spotted. Makes the catch. The thing touched some clouds off of the bat of McCann. 2 away in the 6th.
McCann's had some good swings today and not much to show for it.
And another ball that in a lot of parks is, if not a home run, right at the fence. And Mookie Betts is barely on the warning track here at Fenway. But how about him getting the ball in so quickly? Gurriel was trying to tag up and possibly steal second base. Betts sees it, gets it in quickly, throws a perfect strike to second, and shuts down Gurriel and keeps him at first.
Back to the top of the order for the Astros, George Springer. It's funny you mentioned that, getting the ball in quickly. This is a young group of Red Sox players that they hope learn from that sweep last year in Cleveland. And early on in that series, in fact, game 1 of this series, Andrew Benintendi, one of the young outfielders, caught a fly ball in left field, took his time getting it in. And Roberto Perez, the catcher, tagged and took second base on it. Fly to right. This one an easy play for Betts. To the bottom of the 6th we go. The Red Sox in front of the Astros 4-3. And David Price continues to do what he's done since he was moved to the pen. Jackie Bradley leads off the bottom of the 6th for Boston. They lead the Astros 4-3. And a home run from Rafael Devers. Ball 1 from Lance McCullers. In his 3rd inning of relief work now. It's the minimum in the 5th. That's the 1st inning today. The only inning today still where a pitcher has faced the minimum. 2-0. 20 hits between the teams combined. Couple of walks. On a 2-0 pitch, Jackie Bradley rips one foul, 2-1. David Price, 3 scoreless innings of relief in this one. So they've gotten through 6 innings with the lead now. Two and 2. Still nobody warming down in that Boston bullpen. Could David Price possibly come out for a 4th inning of work, having thrown 42 pitches? 2 more than any outing in the bullpen for him since he moved there in early September. And already more than we got the sense he'd have a chance to throw in talking with John Farrell pregame. The 2-2.
What's interesting, both pitchers in the game now conceivably were looked on to start this potential game or game 2. So McCullers, outstanding young starter for the Astros, obviously with injury problems, finds himself in the bullpen in postseason along with David Price. So 2 starters playing the role of relievers, determining the outcome of this game.
And we asked the question of John Farrell, how did David Price take being put in the bullpen? He said, hey, it's either go to the bullpen or don't be on the roster. And David Price was like, I want to be in the bullpen right away.
Bradley down on strikes to open the 6th. And so the question really becomes now, because you figure that you can get 2 innings out of Craig Kimbrel, even though that's not been a thing they've done consistently. John Farrell has said today that he thought he could get it if he needed it. Well, he definitely needs it. But the question becomes, who handles the 7th? Because Smith and Reed were both bad in game 2.
Well, you got to get 9 outs.
Yeah.
So a combination of Reed and obviously Kimbrel is the guy you go to before you lose the lead. But there's only one run lead, so it's a difficult choice right now. And David Price potentially might have walked on in and said, I'm good. This is my game.
But it doesn't look like David Price is coming out of this game.
No.
He's fighting to stay in. And the Astros are like, we don't care who it is. We just need one swing of the bat to tie this game, get someone on, maybe run into one, and we could take the lead. So as tough of a situation is for the Red Sox, the Astros are looking at it the other way. Hey, we're one pitch away from being right back in this. It's not like the Red Sox have run away with this game, and all the magic and everything that Price has done, they're still literally one pitch away from it all going away.
Bogaerts tries to lay off. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That bat dragged to the zone. The Red Sox have been able to do it today thus far without any help from Bogaerts, who is now 0 for 12 in this series. Down swinging, he's 0 for 13.
It's almost as if McCullers is matching Price pitch for pitch at this point. Now into his 3rd inning of work as well.
And both guys putting up zeros through the middle innings of this game. All the scoring over the first 3.
Just another nasty slider / curveball hybrid, like you called it, Coney. Just goes down, and Xander Bogaerts continues to struggle in this division series.
Two out, bases empty, and Dustin Pedroia tries to lay off, but he too has a hard time doing it. Strike 1.
Yes, he did.
Oh, and 2.
50 years ago, AJ, they used to call that a nickel curve. Back in the day, before sliders were really prevalent in the game, in the 1920s and 30s. Most pitchers featured fastball, curveball, and then sort of the in-between slider, a little quicker, a little shorter break, and a lot of the old-timers referred to it as a nickel curveball, meaning a cheap-looking curveball, but the slider has become prevalent. And even though McCullers employs kind of a spike curveball grip, classification in the break and the velocity is more slider-like, as you said before, AJ. So he can call it whatever he wants, and we can call it a curveball or a slider. It's wicked, is what it is.
Well, you can call it whatever you want. It's getting everybody out, and no one's had a good swing on it. So
Pedroia taps it in play, and whatever it is, it's kept Houston in this game. That's a 1-2-3 inning for Lance McCullers. David Price perhaps back out there for a 4th inning.
Lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder, 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 feel the thunder. Lightning and the thunder.
David Price out there for a 4th inning of work with nobody warming in the Boston bullpen. 2, 3, and 4 for Houston. Josh Reddick takes strike 1. And he is putting together right now a remarkable performance that's giving Boston a chance to extend its season. All is quiet because all is well on the mound right now. That's even though he threw 38 pitches in game 2. Has not thrown more than 40 since moving to the bullpen about a month ago, but sits at 44 here.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. And David Price rising to the occasion.
with all the talk about pitch counts, well, guess what? Pitch counts went out the window for David Price today. And he's been so effective. Red Sox have no other choice but to leave him out there to try to get through at least this inning so they can get to Kimbrel for possibly 2.
Yeah, pretty clearly at this point, that is the hope that Price can finish his 7th inning. That'd be 4 innings from Price and 2 innings from Kimbrel. A 2-1 pitch. Ball 3. Having to earn it here against the heart of the Astros order. David Price with a 3-1 and Josh Reddick with a pop fly and a short left center that Xander Bogaerts settles under. Oh, he figured that 3 innings was probably going to do it. David Price coming off of the field didn't even give John Farrell a chance to tell him that he was done.
Exactly, and John Farrell's not exactly running up to him to shake his hand, and looks like a little conversation there, but very confident body language from Price, almost as if to say, I got this, I'm fine.
That was great. John Farrell was trying to talk to him, and David Price basically just was like, I'm going back out there. Didn't even look at him, just kind of the look on his face told John Farrell, hey, I'm staying out here.
How about this matchup here? Jose Altuve representing the tying run in the 7th inning against David Price. A little bit low, ball 1. Altuve 7 for 10 in this series.
It's a really good pitch. Leone holding it there, Price kind of holding his pose as if to say, what?
These last 2 batters to me show me a little bit as Addison Reed gets up, but show me a little bit of fatigue on Price. Falling behind Reddick, making a really good pitch to come back, but now 2-0 on Altuve. A little bit of fatigue starting to set in just because of the number of pitches in 2 games, which you never see anymore.
And right through the heart of the Astros order. Potential MVP Altuve and MVP in waiting Carlos Correa on deck.
A 2-0. Tries to lay off and does. Ball 3.
Another look.
The reaction is because of the last inning. There was a couple called against the Red Sox, so Red Sox Nation is voicing their displeasure for Mark Wegner, the first base umpire.
A 4-pitch walk to Jose Altuve, and the Astros put the tying run on against a very clearly tiring and understandably tiring David Price.
An impressive at bat by Altuve. I mean, normally uber aggressive, swinging at the first or second pitches, but recognizing that at this point in the game with David Price on the mound, he's going to try to work the count, and does, and gets the walk.
And so now the question at each step in the order becomes, would you rather have a very tired David Price or rested Addison Reed? In this case, for Carlos Correa.
Well, if Addison Reed doesn't come in here to face Correa, then you get the next 2 guys, Marwin Gonzalez and Bregman. Or Gonzalez a switch hitter, probably a better hitter from the left side. So you start saying, well, if not now, when? For Addison Reed.
Astros up 2-0. Correa hits it foul. Winning each of the first 2 games 8-2. On the verge of their first postseason series win since they had that pennant run in 2005. Back in the National League. Red Sox try to extend their season another day, trying to avoid a 2nd consecutive division series sweep. Oh, 1. Correa smacks it to right. Mookie Betts lunges and catches. 2 out.
Well, we've seen him go back. He can come in too, as Mookie Betts covers as much ground out in this spacious Fenway Park right field as just about anybody you have ever seen. And with an excellent throwing arm to go with it.
And today, I mean, the home run from Devers, the obvious one. What David Price is doing is smacking you in the face, saying I'm important too. But don't forget about the robbery of the home run early in this game from Betts and Wright that would have made it 6-0 Houston. Price to Marwin Gonzalez after a toss over.
We talked about what's going to be the spark for the Red Sox. Sometimes it's not always on offense. We said it then. Hey, it can be a play on defense. It can be a guy making a great play in the outfield or a great play in the infield. And so far in this game, it's been Mookie Betts' play in right field to spark the Red Sox and kept this lead for him.
Saved 3 runs.
At least 3 runs.
1 ball, no strikes.
Saved 3 runs and pitches for the ever needed pitches for David Price and for the rest of the Red Sox. By making these plays, it saves bullets.
One off. Fouled off, strike 1. The longest postseason relief outing by a Red Sox pitcher since Pedro Martinez went 6 innings in the American League Division Series against Cleveland in '99. That's one of the 5 times in American League Division Series history that a team has erased a 2-0 series deficit to win the series. Tying run at first. Go ahead run at the plate. Price is 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And this place is about to come alive in support of the guy that has put this team on his back. Press pause on it. Leon taking a visit.
I don't like this meeting, Tony. You got a guy that's out there giving everything he's got. You got a 1-2 count on the hitter. Just it breaks his momentum. It breaks the feeling in the game. I know he's trying to give him a little breather because he's thrown 56 pitches, but man, this guy's rolling. Just let him roll.
Scoreless relief innings. The ALDS on FS1 is presented by Doosan, official partner of Major League Baseball, and is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by T-Mobile. This postseason, there's a new leader in network, T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. Red Sox 4, Astros 3. This has been one heck of a game here at Fenway Park as the Astros try to go for the sweep. The Red Sox try to keep their season alive. And grip the moment, sponsored by Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball. Takes us back to that final out of David Price's 4-inning outing. And you might have seen as we headed to break, Gonzalez and Sandy Leon exchanged words. And David Price took a couple of steps in his direction as well.
I think Gonzalez was mad at Sandy Leon for kind of flipping the ball right there, and then he hits him with his bat. I don't know if that was friendly banter or what that was, but I like it.
Andrew Benintendi takes the ball. Of course you like it, Brzezinski.
Someone that's been known to get into a spat or two with somebody. That was like me. It was never my fault.
Yeah. 2-0. Lost in what David Price is doing is a tremendous outing from Lance McCullers. He's into his 4th inning of relief work. He's kept the Astros in the game. The Red Sox, with Price, have kept the Astros off the board since that 3-run first. Benintendi starting the 7th with a 4-pitch walk. McCann goes out, maybe buys a little time for the bullpen to get cranked up.
The Red Sox are just begging to get an insurance run. They just want an insurance run. David Price has been so good. But with a 1-run lead, they're only one. The Astros are still one swing away, so they just want to get one more. At least that way one swing can't beat them.
And they'll buy a little more time as Mookie Betts gets ready to bat. And the pitching coach, Brent Strom, comes out again.
It's a tough spot when you're a pitcher and you're on the mound right now, and you know this is just designed to be a stall tactic. It's almost as if you don't hear a word the pitching coach is saying sometimes, AJ, when you're out there.
Well, as a catcher, there was plenty of times where a pitching coach came out. I don't even know what he said because I was thinking about every other thing except for what he was talking about, because like you said, you know, he's just wasting time to get these two guys ready, to get Musgrove and Davinsky ready. So yeah, it's more like blah 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 blah. Okay, cool, let's go.
I mean, really though, what are they saying? If there's no point other than to stall,
I don't know. Like I said, I never last time I just tuned him out.
You got it right, like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Betts 0 for 2 with a walk. That one takes off on McCullers, who seems to have lost his touch here after the 4-pitch walk. Ball 1.
One thing we haven't been able to get into is the Red Sox ability to steal a base. This is an ideal time. McCullers struggling to throw strikes. The Houston catcher's not the best throwing catchers in the league, so this is an opportunity for the Red Sox.
Betts hits a base hit to left. And not only is Houston's catchers not the best in the league, they're in fact the worst at throwing runners out. And aggressive base running has been a strength and sometimes a thorn for Boston this year. They make a lot of outs on the bases with as aggressive as they are. It looks like they've bought enough time. A.J. Hinch coming out. Lance McCullers, who is unquestionably disappointed to not make the postseason rotation. Huge performance here out of the bullpen. He hopes that Chris Davinsky can protect his line and keep it a 1-run game. Home runs mean more this postseason as T-Mobile is guaranteeing at least $1 million for hurricane recovery efforts, with every home run hit worth $10,000. Help break $1 million by tweeting hashtag HR4HR, and T-Mobile will donate an additional $1 per tweet. Chris Davinsky in the game. Mitch Moreland to the plate. Boston looking for that insurance, clinging to a 4-3 lead in Game 3.
We saw A.J. Hinch use his only lefty in the pen and Francisco Liriano earlier, but he trusts these other righties, Davinsky and Musgrove, to get lefties out.
Speed in the bases. And a base hit to left center. They will hold the runners. Bases loaded for the Red Sox with nobody out as Mitch Moreland picks up his 3rd hit of the afternoon. And the reason that they like Davinsky against left-handed hitters is because of that filthy changeup, but he goes with a fastball on the first pitch and Moreland makes him pay.
Tried to come inside there, and yeah, Moreland inside outs it against the shift.
Perfect shift beater by Mitch Moreland. The whole left side pretty much of the infield, as long as he didn't hit it right to the third baseman. And it's just a routine ground ball to short normally, but because of the shift.
So Hanley Ramirez to the plate. A chance to break it open for Boston. Goes after the first one, strike 1. 3 hits today for Hanley Ramirez. He's 5 for 9 in this series.
Not bad for a guy that didn't start game 1.
Yeah, you're right about that. He came into game 1 when Eduardo Nunez went down with a knee injury. With the bases loaded in the 7th and 0-1 pitch. Rides inside, ball 1. He has the 3 hits today, and he has 3 hits lifetime against the man on the mound here. Chris Davinsky in his first postseason, thrown into the fire in a 1-run game. McCann out for a visit.
You want to know when somebody's locked in as a hitter? Watch this take by Hanley Ramirez. A pretty good fastball in, starts as a strike. He doesn't even flinch at that ball. It is just out of the hand. That's a ball. That's how you know as a hitter, man, I'm seeing the ball great. I know exactly what this guy's trying to do to me. When you have 3 hits already, you're up with the bases loaded, that's a real nice feeling.
Digs back in with that good feeling against Chris Davinsky. Bases loaded in a 1-run game in the 7th. A 1-1. Ramirez takes ball 2.
Conversely, if you're on the mound against this guy, he's going to chase you out of the zone a little bit. As you can see, Davinsky a little indecision on the mound and a little reluctant to throw it over the plate.
2-1. Ball 3, nowhere to put it. Of the track. A 2-run double from Hanley Ramirez. Breathing room for Boston in game 3.
Hanley Ramirez does not want to go home. He came out with the flag that we showed, Believe in Boston. 4 hits today. Completely locked in, and 4 rockets. No cheap ones about it. And the Red Sox have life.
And now Devers hits it foul. Still nobody out. Red Sox had 4 runs over the first 2 games of this series. They have 6 today. Took the lead on Devers' 2-run homer in the 3rd. Orland at 3rd and Ramirez at 2nd as A.J. Hinch pulls the infield in. The 0-1. Musgrove ready.
For the first time, we showed A.J. Hinch. There was a little bit of look of doubt on his face, like, oh boy, what have we started? We talked about it before the game. Hey, you want to finish this off as quick as possible, but the Red Sox are alive and Fenway is alive, and just what the doctor ordered for the Red Sox.
Devers chases that change we were talking about, 1-2. That's the dynamic of a 5-game series. Maybe in a 2-0 hole facing elimination, but you win one game. You're one game from forcing a decisive game. The crowd getting a little bit restless. Time called. McCann to the mound.
Can't agree on the signs. McCann, the veteran catcher, is going to come out and have a word.
You're talking about that 4-for-4 day, AJ, the Hanley Ramirez has put together, and there's not been much soft contact.
No, these are all 4 just great swings and just bullets off his bat. Everyone squared up, left, right, doesn't matter, center. It's a great feeling.
Good block by McCann. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
So McCann goes out to the mound to Davinsky and says, hey, this is what I got. This is where we're at. And then he comes out and throws a 42-footer. Have you ever done that?
I'm sure I have. Absolutely.
You've thrown a lot of pitches in your life.
I think McCann was a little frustrated there, though, because Davinsky kept shaking him off. And after all that, you're right. It ends up in front of the plate.
Second and third, still nobody out. A 2-2. Goes with a fastball. Missed its spot. Might have found the zone, but missed its spot, and it is called ball 3.
As a catcher, when you set up away and the pitcher misses in, most of the time the umpire won't give it to you. It shouldn't matter, but just the way it looks and all the framing stuff and all that. And a good job by McCann to try to make it look as good as possible, but you just don't get that call.
Payoff. Flips one back of third. Everything going right for the Red Sox. Rafael Devers, a teardrop of an RBI single.
Another changeup. And this is a pretty good one. It's running down and away, but Devers, I mean, one hand. Look at that coverage. This ball is a half a foot outside. Off the end of the bat. If you're a pitcher, you're feeling unlucky. If you're a hitter, that's good hitting, right? Spoiling the pitch.
Absolutely. And if the infield's back, that's probably caught by Correa, but because the infield's in, that's a knock with an RBI stake on the end.
3 in the bank already. Still nobody out. Back into that bullpen. A.J. Hinch has to go to Joe Musgrove here. Still nobody out. Runners at the corners as Chris Davinsky parts after a little bit longer conversation than you normally see.
Certainly a lot of, hey, we need you tomorrow in there, it looked like. And J.P. Morosi not only speaks Spanish and Italian, but apparently he also reads lips. So thanks for the heads up, J.P.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
A walking Rosetta Stone. J.P. Morosi.
Every day it's a new language with J.P. It's amazing.
Still working on English, guys.
Yeah, all right.
You're speaking the blues after that Michigan game last night, JP.
Oh,
it's okay.
I was. My bride, too.
So here's Musgrove. Infield still in for Houston. Red Sox have scored 3 times in this inning and lead 7-3. Sandy Leon. It's buzzed off of the plate, ball 1. So now the conversation, and there's still 6 outs for Boston to give, but you allow yourself to drift into the idea of a game 4 for both sides. And that is probably part of the conversation that A.J. Hinch had there with Chris Davinsky. Look, we could need you tomorrow. John Farrell will have a decision to make as far as who his starter is. Likely Rick Porcello. 1 ball, 1 strike. I mean, at this point with these 3 runs, I mean, do you even bother using Craig Kimbrell?
That's a great point, Joe. If you don't have to, boy, that's a nice nice little tidbit for the Red Sox to hold him back for tomorrow.
Especially important because there is no way David Price is going to throw tomorrow, right?
Well, we thought there was no way he'd throw this many innings today, and he did it. So there's, for David Price's long-term health, for the health of his arm, There's no way that David Price can pick up a ball tomorrow, I wouldn't think, Coney.
David Price is starting Game 5 in Houston at this point. He's stretched out.
54 pitches today for him. And 4 scoreless relief innings. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Sandy Leon. Musgrove comes home. A pop fly. In right field, Reddick. Ramirez tagging from third. That ball not deep enough. And Leon, the first out of the inning. From Houston's perspective, it'll most likely be Charlie Morton if this does in fact get to a Game 4. Jackie Bradley.
Did you get another mound meeting here with McCann, Musgrove?
And while that visit takes place, I want to remind you that the ALDS continues tonight on FS1. Yankees and Indians at 6:30. The Indians going for the sweep in that one. And tomorrow, a doubleheader on TBS. Nationals and Cubs. Boy, looks like the Nationals are back in that series with a come-from-behind win last night. The Dodgers convincing over the first 2, routing the Diamondbacks in both games. First pitch to Jackie Bradley. Well, called ball 1.
We talked about that moment for the Red Sox that could turn the series. One swing by Bryce Harper last night against the Cubs. Looks like it changed the momentum for that series with the long home run off the Cubs.
How about the Indians come back in Game 2 of that series and all the stuff that's come after, thrown in Joe Girardi's direction with his decision not to challenge a play where it was called a hit batsman, probably should have been challenged and overturned to be a foul ball. Grand slam from Francisco Lindor followed, and they'd eventually win that game in 13. 1-1.
Well, it's a great point. I mean, a lot of controversy in New York surrounding the Yankees and Joe Girardi, and in the following day in his press conference, he owned it, admitting that if he had it to do over again, he would make the challenge, especially with 2 in his pocket at that point.
Well, he had nothing to lose right there. That's not why they lost the game, but it is a big help to the Cleveland Indians.
Good stop over there by Gurriel.
But if you have those 2 challenges, it was in the bottom of the 6th, so I believe at that time he had 2 left in the 7th, or I think it is at least that they give him to the crew chief.
You're right.
So why not? I mean, you got nothing to lose. At the very least, they just confirmed that he got hit by a pitch and you lose nothing. And good for Joe Girardi for standing up and admitting it. I know at the beginning he just said rhythm and pitcher and he didn't get a good angle, but at least he came back and admitted it, and you deserve some credit for that.
2-1.
Well, when you play in major markets, you know, the best recipe is always just being a stand-up person. Stand up and take it, because that's what those guys, the scribes, look for. If you're the type of guy that's not in front of your locker, no matter whether you're a player, manager, if you're not in front of your locker on a bad game and you're not a stand-up guy, boy, that puts a bullseye on your back.
You guys both know that well. You played in both of the noted big American League East markets, New York and Boston. AJ, you spent some time here in Boston.
Yeah, they couldn't wait to get rid of me, Joe. I guess I wasn't a stand-up guy, even though I stood up and took all the questions. Look, I get what you're saying, Coney, and yes, that is part of it. But someone once told me it's better to say anything than not say something. If you don't say anything to the media after a good or bad game, they can make up whatever they want. So at least say something.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. High fly ball, right field line, towards the corner. It's gone off of the glove of Reddick. Jackie Bradley, a 3-run home run to start the party in Boston. Reddick was robbed of a home run earlier by Mookie Betts in right. He almost returned the favor there, but it bounces off his glove, and just like that, it's 10-3 Red Sox. Bogarts, strike one.
And again, the shape of Fenway Park comes into play, because this is not a home run anywhere else. But because of Pesky's pole in the really short porch and right, the ball goes off Reddick's glove and into the stands for a 3-run homer for Jackie Bradley, and all you can do is shake your head at this point for the Houston Astros.
Bogarts to left center field. Marwin Gonzalez a reaching grab, 2 out.
Well, you get an interesting view. Josh Reddick knows that corner. He came up with the Red Sox and played a little right field when he broke in, and you could see he chose to kind of use his leg to brace running into the wall, and I'm not sure if that jarred the ball out of his glove or not. It's such a short wall over there. If he goes full speed, he'll tumble over it, maybe hurt himself, so he chose to kind of drive his leg into the wall, and I'm not sure if that jarred the ball out of his glove or not.
Great effort nonetheless. It just popped out.
Pedroia grounds it foul, and it's 0-2.
Once again, as you see right there, the only way to slow himself down is to stick his leg against the wall.
And that's probably not a home run, actually. If he doesn't knock it into the stands, that ball probably stays in the park.
I think that, him worrying about running into the wall, he probably had a little more room than he thought.
Pedroia hits a high fly ball to left center field. Gonzalez on the run to the track, and he makes the catch shy of the wall. But the Red Sox bat around in the 7th inning. A 6-run swing in front of that right field wall over this afternoon, and they're making plans for Monday at Fenway. Play Ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. Alex Bregman leads off the Houston half of the 8th inning and takes a ball from Addison Reed. But Craig Kimbrell no longer needed with a 6-run 7th inning for a Boston Red Sox team that scored 4 runs total over the first 2 games of this series. High fly ball to right center field. Betts on the move. He's got it. And Bregman retired to open the 8th. We talked about it. Really a 6-run swing over that right field wall as this day has gone on. Betts robbing a 3-run home run from Reddick. And then Reddick had a chance to take one back from Bradley. Off his glove and gone.
Just absolutely amazing how much Fenway Park has come into play in this game. Home field advantage, people say it doesn't exist in baseball. Well, the biggest one probably is right here at Fenway Park because of the awkward walls, because of the awkward angles and everything that happens here at Fenway. Whether it's the Green Monster or Pesky's pole down here in right field, Mookie Betts has played it to perfection.
Carlos Beltran. Mookie Betts a little bit less adventurous this time. Oh boy, there have been so many famous examples of that wall coming into play. The American League Championship Series Game 2 in 2013 on David Ortiz's game-tying grand slam. Of course, Torrey Hunter toppling over the wall. A couple of years back, Mookie Betts knocked over after robbing a hit. And then this year, one of the greatest catches you'll ever see from Austin Jackson was on August 1st, robbing Hanley Ramirez of a home run. It's a strike on Yuli Gurriel. Backhand Bogarts. Jump throw. Wide throw. And Gurriel has 4 hits today. Where do you put that Austin Jackson catch among the all-timers, Coney?
Well, not only does he make an incredible catch, but to brace himself with his hand there probably saved him a concussion or landing directly on his head. So great athleticism there to catch himself and make the catch.
I could never jump that high, so I can't even imagine what it felt like to jump up and catch it. Forget bracing yourself and the whole deal, but that's got to be one of the top 10 catches of all time for an outfielder, and just everything involved, the wall, the flip, the grabbing of the fence to brace yourself. It's real high on my list that I've seen.
Brian McCann with a man at first and 2 out. Rolled to first. Moreland steps on the bag. To the bottom of the 8th we go. Addison Reed, an uneventful top half. (10-3) Red Sox in front. It was 3-0 Houston after an inning. 1 in the second, 3 in the third, and then a 6-run 7th inning. Andrew Benintendi with the middle part of the Boston order against Luke Gregerson. There's ball 1. Got under this one. Reddick and Springer. Center fielder takes charge and makes the catch for the first out. Time for a Budweiser game summary here in Game 3 of this American League Division Series. Told you how the scoring went. Devers hit the go-ahead home run. Was back in the 3rd inning. How about this? All 14 runs in this series for Boston have been driven in from 6 through 9 in the order. So we posed the question coming in today, who's it going to be? And the sources have not necessarily been the most likely.
That's usually not a recipe for success, but today it's worked for the Red Sox. First 2 games, not so much, but today, 10 on the board.
Betts with 1 out, looks at a strike. Ten runs on 15 hits for this Boston offense, which among the 10 postseason teams, and you see Juan Centeno has come into the game to catch, but among the 10 teams in the postseason, the Red Sox average fewer runs per game than all of them. And it's not that they've been bad offensively. They've not been anything like the Red Sox have been traditionally, especially like last season. They were probably the top offense in baseball. And the thing that's so different about this group is that they don't hit home runs. It's been a team that's gotten on base. They've hit a lot of doubles. They've been aggressive on the bases. A couple big home runs in this one, though.
Interesting to see the lineup tomorrow on the Boston side with the hot Hanley Ramirez batting 6th today. Do you move him up, AJ, or do you roll with just the same lineup?
Well, we asked John Farrell today, no lineup changes, no thoughts, and he kind of laughed at us like, no, this is what we rolled with. You admire that and respect that, but man, Bogarts, no hits in the series so far. Hanley hot.
Betts takes strike 3.
Betts kind of struggling with his wrist and things. I mean, there's some moves that could be made, but knowing John Farrell, having played for John Farrell, he's going to stick with what worked tonight.
Well, the first inning has been such a common theme throughout all of the playoffs this year. You know, first blood. You might want to get your hottest hitter an at-bat in the first inning.
Base is empty, 2 gone for Mitch Moreland. Let's be honest. I mean, in that first inning, Houston takes a 3-0 lead. And with the lack of punch from this Boston offense in this series, it was looking like their season was coming to an end today.
It felt like it was coming to an end in the atmosphere and the crowd.
And if that happens, John Farrell is squarely on the hot seat. He deserves credit for the way he managed today, aggressively bringing on Joe Kelly to get out of a jam in the second inning, pulling Doug Fister, and allowing David Price to go 4 full innings. On the ground to first, Gurriel will feed it on to Gregerson to finish off a 1-2-3-8. On to the 9th at Fenway. The ALDS presented by Doosan on FS1 is sponsored by Hankook Tire. Chase down your passion, never halfway. And by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Back at Fenway Park with the 3 home runs hit today by these teams. T-Mobile will be donated an additional $30,000 for hurricane recovery efforts. Good year to have money going towards hurricane recovery efforts for all the home runs we've had, because 36 have gone out. That means $360,000 from T-Mobile to help with those continuing efforts. Carson Smith comes in the game. It is 10-3 with a 6-run 7th, rendering Craig Kimbrell unnecessary for this game 3, saving him potentially for game 4. Smith, who was really good in September to earn a spot on the roster coming off Tommy John surgery, struggled in his debut this postseason. To strike on Springer, 0-2.
And that's Carson Smith's pitch right there. That slider, that kind of 3/4 to low 3/4 arm action slider that just baffles right-handed hitters.
Breaks his bat on a roller to third. This is Rafael Devers throwing off of Springer. See how they rule it, but Springer aboard to open the 9th. And it is a base hit, his 2nd of the day.
Sinker down and in, breaks his bat. But Springer's so quick down the line that Devers has to rush it. And up the line, no chance.
Is there a better noise for a starting pitcher or a pitcher in general than that crack when you break someone's bat, especially when you go in on someone?
Yeah, it works more times than not.
They've been serenading Josh Reddick since he had a chance to rob that home run and instead went off his glove and into the seats for a 3-run shot for Bradley. You mentioned it, Coney, a little bit of history here. Red Sox drafted him. Debuted with Boston as a part-time player over the course of a few years before they traded him to Oakland. 1 ball, 1 strike. So game 4 sets up tomorrow night, assuming the Red Sox can close out this 7-run lead. Charlie Morton scheduled to go for the Astros, and you figure it'll be Rick Porcello countering for the Red Sox. That's a double play. Bogarts handles it himself. And boy, will it be on Rick Porcello's shoulders or what to get deep into that game with a bullpen going more than 7 innings today. ALDS continues tonight on FS1. The Yankees trying to avoid the sweep at the hands of the Indians. Coverage started at 6:30 Eastern. Doubleheader tomorrow on TBS. Both National League series continue with game 3. It's been a disappointing season for Rick Porcello off of his Cy Young performance in 2015. But one thing he's done is get deep into games. 26 of his 33 starts, he's gone at least 6 full. And they'll need at least that tomorrow.
Well, the problem is if he gets in any kind of trouble,
what do you do?
What do you do? You can't wait around.
A strike on Altuve.
It's not like a regular season start where the Red Sox can call up somebody from AAA to make up these innings they lost from the bullpen today. And with their season again on the line tomorrow, the first hint of trouble, John Farrell's going to be like, who do we have that's available? You could see Chris Sale out there maybe for multiple innings. You could see Pomeranz.
Altuve hits it slowly to third. A bare hand pickup from Devers, who then airmails the throw. And not quite finished yet. I said 2015 Cy Young for Porcello. Just want to correct that. It was last year. making this such a disappointing follow-up campaign. A couple of errant throws from Devers in this inning, but both ruled singles.
Oh, another hit for Altuve. He can do no wrong.
Eight for 11 in the series now. Correa. Altuve will take second on ball one.
What a treat for Houston Astros fans to be able to watch Jose Altuve play every day.
What a treat for us to be able to watch him in these 3 games so far.
There's no phase of the game that he doesn't excel at. We saw him on defense today too with an incredible turn on a double play. Obviously a threat on the base pass to steal if the opportunity presents itself. Talk about an all-around ball player. This guy beats you in a lot of different ways.
Strike one. I saw Brad Peacock a second ago. Seems like he was in this game and was a big story in this game, but like days ago. Came out in the 3rd inning, leading 3-1. Soon after, go-ahead home run from Rafael Devers. Plenty more after that. Fouled off 1-2. Correa and Houston dust itself off. Come back tomorrow, still with a chance to win the series before it gets back to Houston. It'll be their first postseason series win since '05 when they won the pennant. That pitch doesn't count. Time call by Leon. Was headed out there again. Sandy likes his mound visits.
And that's a bad feeling right there. The umpire jumps out. Pitcher's already going. He doesn't know who called timeout, but you got to be ready as a catcher because here it comes.
I mentioned that home run earlier today from Devers, guys. We've got our StatCast on it, powered by Amazon Web Services. 105 off the bat. Anything over 95 considered hard hit. And he crushed that ball. One of the 15 hits today for Boston. Offense has come alive. A 2-2. Game 4 tomorrow night. The offense explodes. They ride David Price through 4 scoreless innings of relief work and avoid the sweep, giving themselves an opportunity to get this series back to Houston. Four-hit day from Hanley Ramirez. He wasn't alone, though. All the pieces surrounding him in the bottom part of the order accounting for all these runs. All 14 runs that the Red Sox have scored have been driven in from 6 through 9 in John Farrell's lineup. But our play of the game comes from the defensive side. It's the Hankook Tire dynamic play of the game, with the Astros already in front 3-0. Josh Reddick crushed a ball that would have made it 6-0 in the 2nd inning, but Mookie Betts goes back and steals a home run over that very short wall in right field, which was an eventful spot today. Provided the first bit of momentum the Red Sox had in the series. The offense took advantage and won Game 3 to set up tomorrow's Game 4. Should be a fun atmosphere in tomorrow. Astros will try and finish off the Red Sox, who will try and extend it back to Houston. For now, we get you to Los Angeles for more MLB postseason coverage.